It's a slow night at the True North Motel in Colorado Springs. Clerk Hank Blackburn is manning the front desk and wrestling with boredom.
It was late, and he was trying to stay awake, so he was trying to watch TV.
Hank's office is stuffy. He goes to the window, open it. Outside, there's a crowd of bar patrons hanging out on the street.
It was last call, so voices are getting louder. Obviously, people have been drinking.
It's not unusual during the overnight shift.
God damn it.
He's having a problem with his television. It's flickering. He starts to fiddle with it, trying to get the cloudiness cleared up.
He sees a guy who's waving a gun around.
Hey, you cop!
Then he sees a police officer step toward this guy.
And all of a sudden, gunfire erupts. Hank ducks down, trying to find a phone so he can dial 911.
What's your emergency?
Yeah, someone's got a gun, and I think he just shot a cop.
Across the street, Officer Steven Zelnick
What is it?
rushes to the aid of his brother in arms.
Joe, talk to me. Are you hit?
He's trying to see if he feels blood or if there's a pulse or what's going on.
Talk to me.
March 6, 1973. 26-year-old Joseph P. Kenda is reporting to his first day on the job at the Colorado Springs Police Department.
I really didn't know what I was getting into. I thought I knew. I thought this was going to be the opportunity of a lifetime. I was a little bit frightened. And I was excited. I did a lot of research about police departments and how they operate and all that, but research isn't the same as reality. I grew up in a coal mining town 30 miles east of Pittsburgh. I met Kathy in high school. We started a family. I had 2 different jobs, the last of which was the family business, which was a disaster.
The story about us moving across country started because he was working and not making enough money. He was gone during the day, he was gone at night. I finally had had enough, and I said, you need to find another job. He said he always wanted to be a cop.
After applying to 3 different police departments,
Hello? Joe?
Kenda finally received the call he'd been waiting for.
Hello, this is Joe Kenda.
Who knew this would be the first call of thousands more to come?
Mr. Kenda,
Yes?
welcome to the Colorado Springs Police Department.
I was dropped the phone.
Okay, bye. Looks like we're moving to Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs was where his mother was born and raised. So every summer they would come back to visit the grandparents. This was the great place to be.
I rented a U-Haul trailer and put our meager possessions in it, and then we decided to take Horace Greeley's advice and go west, young man.
2 weeks later, the starry-eyed new recruit is eager to start field training.
I am wearing this brand new shiny police uniform with a brand new pistol on my side and a nightstick and all the various toys.
Hello.
Hey, having a good day?
For now.
Good.
Hey, you're up. Come on. Go to work.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Have a good day.
And everybody obviously recognized me as a rookie.
Who are you?
Joseph P. Kenda. I'm here to report for training.
Let me see who they put you with. Okay, looks like you're going to be with Larry Bix.
And where could I find him?
Just go sit over there and wait on him. He'll be here in a minute. You can't miss him. And good luck. You're going to need it.
Thank you.
And I thought, what does that mean?
Watch where you going, rookie. Oh, sorry, sir.
Rookies are invisible. No one knows what you're capable of. No one knows if you are willing and able to engage. No one knows if you're willing to help save their life. They don't know you, and they don't want to know you. My heart is going like a trip hammer under that uniform shirt. And I was thinking to myself, what have you done?
A few minutes later, a bull of a man appears and approaches Kenda.
Hello, sir. I'm Joe. Joe Kenda.
He didn't say hello. He didn't say his name. And I thought, this is going to be a very long day.
And it's only the beginning. Over the next several hours, Kenda shadows Officer Bix, learning the basics of police work.
You work alongside a veteran police officer. So generally you're paired in a car and you're answering the same calls for service. And you would learn by watching and listening and doing what the real policeman in your car told you to do.
Hey, let's get a few things straight.
Yes, sir.
Rule number 1, don't ever touch that freaking radio.
I wasn't planning on it, sir.
Rule number 2, I control everything. Got it?
Yes, sir.
At some point it shifts. You become the person who handles the call until your training officer feels you're ready, and then you're tossed into the deep end of the pool.
Bad things can happen in an instant. You have no idea who somebody is that's in a car that you just stopped for a minor traffic violation. You don't know if he's a Catholic priest on his way to church or if he's a convicted murderer who has escaped from a prison in California.
So your license, registration?
One thing is clear. He certainly knows who you are. You are the police.
As the two men patrol a South Side route, Officer Bix breaks down the ins and outs of shift work.
There are 3 8-hour shifts in police work. Every 28 days, the shift rotates.
1 month would be midnight to 8, next month would be 4 to midnight, and then the next month it was 8 to 4. You rotated backwards.
You just described to me what exactly was taken.
There was quite a difference between day shift
A couple $100 gone.
Okay, so
and say midnight shift work.
what do you consider a couple of hundred?
About $200.
200?
You got a lot of what we refer to as cold calls during the daytime. Something that happened that was discovered in the morning. There were some burglary calls, a lot of vandalism calls. 4 to midnight shift would begin to pick up auto accidents and collisions and so forth during rush hour.
Stay away from my girlfriend!
Yeah, I got 2 fighting in the alley. I'm gonna go break them up.
Then the midnight to 8 shift, you're pretty busy until around 3 o'clock. The bars fill up. You'll begin to get some disturbance calls, fight calls.
Hey, that's enough. That's enough. Get up. Get up. Get up.
When you are a patrol officer, you are the first responder. You are required, perhaps to force entry, to stop the bleeding and start the breathing, to defend the wounded, to search for suspects, to avoid getting shot, stabbed, or otherwise run over. You have no idea what you're getting into.
There's not much time to consider the facts. You have to move in quickly, restore order as quickly as you can.
Yes, sir.
Part of the excitement of patrol and police work in general, it's never the same. We're about to witness the greatest show on earth, humanity.
But after 2 hours on the job, Kenda's still waiting for that show to start.
All right, rookie, why are you here?
I don't know. It's the only place I ever wanted to be.
Got big dreams about being a police officer, huh?
I wanted to do something with my life that I could control, not be controlled by someone else. I want to rise or fall on my own ability, pursue the bad people on behalf of society. That's why, but I didn't really know that yet.
3 hours into Kenda's first shift,
Dispatch to 326.
the radio finally crackles to life.
326, what's the problem?
Got a call from a resident over on Flat. Female is complaining that she smells gas in her home.
10-4, 326 en route.
later, Kenda and Bix find themselves inspecting a kitchen stove.
It's just a leak, ma'am. Your house will be fine, but you need to call the gas company to get it fixed right now.
This wasn't exactly what I had in mind. Responding to a problematic stove didn't strike me as exciting cop work.
In the meantime, keep your windows open. Make sure there's fresh air blowing in and out.
You wonder why people call the police for a leaking stove and not the right people?
Thank you, officer.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Because the police will come 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Do you get a lot of calls like this, sir?
We're on the day side, kid. We can't throw you out on the front line first day on the job. You're too green. You gotta understand, you're not ready for the night shift yet.
Seems an awful lot like community service.
Just you wait, rookie. Just you wait.
Kenda's first call of the day didn't meet the expectations of police work. But at 2 p.m., the second call comes in.
Car 326, come in.
Will it offer up the action he's been hoping for?
Go for 326.
We have a call from a woman screaming. Sounds like a domestic disturbance. It's been traced to 511 Racine Road.
Crap.
What is it?
I've been to this address before.
You get kind of excited about it, like, how are we going to approach this? What are we going to do?
Okay, rookie, look. This is a hot call. I need you to watch my back.
Yes, sir.
Don't screw this up.
Okay, sir.
You're stepping into somebody's personal life at the highest moment of emotion. They are angry with each other, but they can turn and become angry at you. And I'm about to learn it's the most dangerous call you can get. (1973), my first year in law enforcement, and my first day on the job. I'm in field training with Training Officer Larry Bix. And we just got our first call of distress. A domestic disturbance.
Ma'am.
And I'm about to learn it's the most dangerous call you can get.
Can you tell me what's happened, ma'am?
My husband's crazy.
Was it your husband that's done this to your face?
Yes.
The most common 4 words you hear when you arrive from a female caller: I want him arrested.
Can you tell me where he is?
He's inside.
Stay with her. Radio for medical assistance.
Yes, sir.
I'll call you if I need you.
She's been beaten. Her eye is swollen. Her face is bruised. There's blood dried on her lips.
Ma'am, the ambulance will be here soon, so just wait here with me, okay?
Kenda!
Wait here.
All day, Kenda's been itching to see some action. Until the ugly reality kicks in.
That knot comes into your stomach instantly. It's frightening. It is an adrenaline boost. If anybody ever tells you that they're not afraid, they're either lying or they're insane. Of course you're afraid. I was afraid all the time.
Can you pin his arm? Get away from me! I didn't do it.
You move through your fear and do your job.
It wasn't me.
Is that heroic? No, it's not. It's the most overused word in the English language. You have a job to do. You're being paid to do it. You swallow the fear and you proceed.
That was amazing.
Calm down, Johnny Law. You think this is fun?
Yes, sir. No, sir. Not at all.
After a month on the job, Kenda has learned the ropes of the daytime beat. It's time for him and Officer Bix to rotate to the night shift.
Yeah, this stuff isn't any problem.
Rookie, I know you think you got a handle on this cop work. The night shift's a different world.
I hear you, Bix. I get it.
Do you? Because cocky guys on the night shift Go home in body bags.
How many times are you gonna tell me?
Just keep your mouth shut and listen to me, will you?
Kenda and Bix grab some chow and coffee to help power through until dawn.
Your body says, let's go to bed. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. What are we doing out here? You've got to remain hydrated. You have to remain fed.
What's up, guys?
There was a particular greasy spoon on 8th Street, and the cops and the cab drivers and all the other night crawlers were out there in the middle of the night.
I'll have the number 1 and coffee, please.
Number 2 extra.
After putting in their order,
Thank you.
the two men sit back and relax,
Crispy bacon.
Oh, wait, my water. Your water's over there.
or at least they try to.
Knock it off, guys. I can get more water.
You think you can push me around? You want some of this? Huh?
Hey, this is an establishment. You need to calm down.
One of the officers at the other table walked over to try to calm this guy down,
Calm down.
No, you gonna take his side?
I'm telling you to be quiet in here.
and that was a big mistake.
It's an establishment.
Tell me what to do.
And he's choking him to where the officer is almost unconscious, and he's as blue as his shirt. He's killing him. I am enraged. I am scared to death. I'm all those emotions all wrapped into one. What I didn't see was a stainless steel cream dispenser on the counter, and I flattened it with his face.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, I mean, I had to.
Of course you did. He's reaching for a night. Good job.
Nice job, kid. We owe you one.
Get your ass up. You're under arrest.
As dawn rolls around, the brass at headquarters get word that a rookie cop has just saved a veteran's life.
Officer Kenda reporting, sir.
Officer Kenda, just relax. Officer Bix here has been telling me what happened last night. And on his recommendation, we both feel that you're ready to be in your own car tomorrow. What do you think about that?
The captain of the patrol division was delighted that I could obviously handle myself.
I believe I am ready, sir.
And deciding I had been sufficiently trained,
We're going to go ahead and arrange that for tomorrow, and you'll be out on your own tomorrow afternoon.
he awarded me my own police car the next day.
I expect good things from you.
Thank you, sir. It was great working with you, Bix.
Yeah. You'll do all right out there, kid.
Thank you again, sir. I won't let you down.
Better not.
Kenda is happy to be done with training, but he also understands what it means to be out on patrol alone. And before long, Kenda will learn firsthand just how dangerous police work can truly be.
Back up! I need back up!
By this time, October of '74, I'd been on patrol for about a year. I've learned some of the ropes, and I've caught my fair share of suspects up to this point. But I'm about to get in big trouble.
He was a little standoffish, but he was well respected by his peers and by the department supervisor. He was a good cop.
Joe is an individual who can communicate much better than most other individuals. He was a very intelligent guy. I mean, he was meticulous in the way that he went about his job.
One balmy October evening, Kenda is eating dinner with his wife and children before starting the night shift.
We had different meals for whichever shift he was working. If he was going to be home, then I would cook the typical dinner. Roast, spaghetti, pork chops, vegetables.
Make sure you try your carrots also, buddy. It'll help you see better at night. Is baby feeling any better?
Took a whole bottle earlier today, so.
And hopefully she'll sleep for you.
I hope so.
About that time.
When he was not going to be there, then we had the kid dinners. Mac and cheese, fish sticks, SpaghettiOs, things that they like.
Daddy, where are you going tonight?
Daddy has to go to work, honey.
It was hard sometimes, seeing my little ones and knowing that maybe after I walk out that door, I'd never see them again. but that's the risk of the job.
You have to go catch the bad guys, right, Dad?
That's right, pal.
It was Dad's job.
Can I get a hug?
To them, it was perfectly normal.
Hey, be good for your mom, okay?
Okay.
I gotta go.
If I worried about every time he went out the door, I would not have made it. We would have been divorced. You can't worry about that kind of stuff. You have to keep continuing on with your life.
And while Kathy does her best to shut out the danger, her husband relishes it.
It's addictive. It was for me. It was an adrenaline rush. The more trouble there was, the more I liked it. And I found that when things were at their worst, I was at my best.
After a year on patrol, Kenda has developed crucial relationships with several people who roam the streets on his beat.
Hey, Billy.
Well. If it ain't the best police officer in town.
How you doing?
I'm all right.
He had the biggest cowboy hat I've ever seen in my life. It was 3 sizes too big. He lived under a bridge, and if he was awake, he was drunk, and I was his favorite person.
Can you give me a ride?
Have I ever said no? Hop in.
So you're the best.
These are the invisible people that society doesn't want to know who they are. I was their taxi cab, I was their friend, I was their contact. They know what's going on. They know who's got a gun. They know who's planning a crime. They listen to the jungle drums.
Let's talk about it.
And that kind of information is incredibly useful because they're volunteering. You're not asking for it. They're just giving it to you because they like you.
Little does Kenda know, this quick trip across town will be one that would nearly cost him his life.
All right. Thanks, Kenda.
Thank you, Billy. Until next time.
All right. Whoa.
I see this guy. He's in my headlights. He's standing in the street with a hubcap.
What's he doing with those?
I don't know, but I'm gonna go find out. All right, later, cowboy.
Kenda follows the man down Fountain Boulevard, keeping his siren off since the man hasn't done anything wrong yet.
I look in that parking lot, there are people in a rolling fist fight. When the alcohol begins to flow, that's when things get active. And this guy's throwing a hubcap like a discus. It has an edge, it has teeth. He's using them as weapons.
533 to dispatch. You have a large fight in a parking lot at 2200 East Platt Street. Any additional units, please?
Now, at that time, no radio to take with you. That radio's in the car. You shut that car off and pull the keys, your communication capabilities have just ended.
And without bulletproof vests, all physical protection is lost as well.
So you are literally on your own.
10-4, 523 out.
You are the police department, one and only. Now, that wasn't too bright of me. I should have waited, but I couldn't wait.
Break it up! Break it up!
Most of it works because they look at me and they see the uniform.
Drop it now!
Kenda is determined to bring the situation under control.
Drop it now!
Before someone gets seriously injured.
Put your hands on your head and turn around!
Let's go.
I hear sirens in the distance, but I'm still by myself in this parking lot. And I had no idea the level of danger I was putting myself in at the time.
But the situation goes from bad to worse.
Back up! I need back up!
This guy, he's got his arm around a girl's neck.
Back off, man!
I had never confronted anybody with a gun in their hand before.
Shut up!
Who was holding a hostage. What do you do?
Hey! Hey, you cop! Let him go!
I think I should shoot him, but I don't have a clear shot. You can see an inch and a half of him in the dark, 40 feet away with a handgun. You're going to kill this girl.
While Kenda may not have a clear shot, the gunman is more than willing to pull the trigger.
The muzzle flash appears to be 10 yards in diameter, which of course is ridiculous. This is a little tiny gun, but not when it's shooting at you. It's not tiny, it is huge.
Kenda feels a jolt of pain and then numbness.
And I can hear the bullets hitting the asphalt around my head. I believed I was going to die. And I hear doors slamming.
Where is the officer?
And people coming. My first thought is, where am I shot?
Joe.
I believed I'd never see my kids again. I believed I'd never see my wife again. I thought, this is it. I've been a policeman for a few months and I'm dead in this parking lot.
Large fight in a parking lot.
Officer Joe Kenda is in the middle of the most harrowing moment of his fledgling career as a police officer. A gun-wielding madman has just opened fire on him. Not once, but 7 times.
The officers responding believed that I had been shot. He put his arm over me to protect me from the crowd.
How do you hit? What do you hit, Joe?
And he said, where are you hit? And I said, I don't know.
I feel numb.
I can't feel any pain. I don't feel anything wet. There'd be blood if I was shot.
Kenda slowly realizes that thankfully all 7 shots missed him. And the numbness he felt was a combination of a rush of adrenaline and hitting the pavement at full force.
There was so much adrenaline in my system that like every muscle in my body was spasming and my heart was in my throat and it was over.
I think I'll be okay. Where is he?
After I get over the fear,
I'm gonna catch this guy and throw him in a jail cell.
I am wild.
He made a run for it.
Hey, are you guys okay?
Yeah, we are okay. The suspect took off in that direction.
He went that way? Hey, let's go get him.
Still seething, Kenda scans the crowd of people who were involved in the brawl.
At this moment, they are all active participants in a major bar fight.
Nobody leaves here until they talk to me. Is anybody hitting the crossfire? Surprisingly, no.
How could he miss? Well, rather easily. With a small handgun in the dark, 40 feet away, he's a terrible shot. Thank God.
Officer's mate is gonna take your guy who was throwing the hubcaps down to the station. You need to stay to talk to homicide. They're in their way.
Homicide?
Yeah, homicide.
When a police officer is a victim of an attempted murder, particularly involving gunfire, they consider that to be very serious. If you'll shoot a uniformed policeman, you'll shoot anybody.
All right, I'm going to detain as many as people as I can.
Patrol officers establish the crime scene parameters. They identify the victims. They identify the witnesses. They protect and preserve evidence. And when detectives arrive, patrol hands it off.
Kenda hasn't interviewed many eyewitnesses in his short career, but he's already discovered a knack for it.
Are you okay, ma'am?
Yeah, I think so.
I know it's been difficult, but do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Sure.
Joe had the ability to talk to anybody at their individual level and make them feel comfortable.
And what's your name?
Serena.
How old are you?
22.
When you can do that as a police officer, you get a lot of information, and it's ultimately going to help you in the future.
You tell me how the fight started?
Yeah, well, my sister and I, we were in the bar the whole night. It was just a normal night. And then these 2 guys just started arguing. So my sister and I ran outside, and then the fight ended up moving outside. And then that's when the guy grabbed me.
Back up! Back up!
She doesn't know the guy with a gun, but she remembers that he grabbed her while he was confronting another guy.
Nick, come on, man!
And he called him Nick.
Kenda's interview with Serena Mills has yielded the name of the shooter. But fellow officers cut the interview short.
Joe, come here. You need to stop. What do you mean? You are the victim. You cannot investigate your own crime scene. You're going to need to talk to the detectives when they get here and give them a full statement. But I barely saw anything. I mean, all I know was a white guy. That's what you're going to tell them.
They keep telling me I'm a victim. I'm not a victim, I'm a policeman. What the hell are you talking about? I can't be part of this. That was so difficult for me.
Only minutes later, an unmarked cruiser arrives, and 2 homicide detectives take over the scene.
Now, I'm in a position for the first time in my short tenure on the police department to be standing there not doing anything while everybody else is busy, and I see the detectives wearing sport coats and ties, and I knew that's what I wanted.
Which one's Kenda?
Officer Kenda?
Yes, sir.
I'm Detective Brian. I heard what you did in that diner last year. Took down, what was it, like 5 guys?
I was actually only 1, but, don't believe everything you hear.
You want to tell me what went on here tonight?
Yeah, I followed a guy that was throwing hubcaps into the crowd right here in this lot. When I entered the scene, I saw a girl being held hostage and a guy with a gun. Can't really tell you much more about the guy, though.
I'm sorry, but I saw little or nothing of him. And they said, well, we're not surprised. It is very, very difficult to have a clear memory of a traumatic event.
People here did hear him being called Nick, if that's any help.
Every little bit helps. It's all part of one big puzzle. If we put this puzzle together, we have that guy that tried to kill you locked up in no time.
Appreciate it, sir.
I was attracted to that line of work because you had to be able to think. You had to be able to analyze how people behave. I don't understand people, but they interest me. And that fascinated me.
It's a profound realization for Officer Kenda, one that will set the tone for the rest of his career. But right now, a madman is still on the loose.
You hear that?
And we hear gunshots in the distance.
You, come with me.
We have an active shooter out here somewhere who's not afraid to shoot at the police. So who else is he not afraid of? I'm a helpless cop at the moment because I cannot participate in this investigation. I survived the shooting. I'm alive. The shooter, Nick, is really dangerous. We need to get him off the streets. Now we hear shots in the distance, radio screaming, and we're hopeful that we have cornered him somehow.
But Kenda won't get a chance to help take down the man who almost killed him. As the victim in the case, he must stay behind while other CSPD officers chase down the perp, known only as Nick.
I really wanted to violate every policy that existed and go with these guys and at least witness his arrest. But I know better, so I stood there with my thumb in my ear.
We need to get over there and get this bastard.
Did it sound like he got hit?
I don't know, but he took a shot at one of our guys, so we need to be careful.
A few minutes later,
Stop, police!
one of Kenda's fellow patrol officers spots the gunman and charges after him.
Stop, police! Stop, police!
yourself in. You want us to go in after him?
We're gonna have to.
If Nick is inside with the gun, this team of cops is about to get shot at. At the crime scene, an anxious Kenda prepares to head back to the station.
Why so glum, kid? You're alive.
You're here too, huh, Bix?
I got the call. Heard it was you. Thought you might have got hit. Looks like you're gonna be okay.
I wanted to be able to say to myself that I had brought this to a conclusion and that I had imprisoned someone who needed to be imprisoned.
The guy almost killed you. Besides, you got one caller tonight already. Why don't you leave some for the rest of us?
Thanks, Vic.
Kenda arrives at CSPD headquarters at around 5 a.m. Though his superiors tell him it can wait another day, he immediately begins writing his arrest report.
I wanted to establish that record that I was thorough, I was bright, I could express myself in writing. It is a critical step in getting selected for investigations.
Around 9 a.m., an exhausted Kenda clocks out and heads home from the shift that nearly claimed his life.
I remember that day. I said, "What happened?" And he said, it was a bad day at work. It was a shootout. And you think, oh, crap.
When Kenda reports for work the following evening, he assumes his fellow officers have the shooter, Nick, in custody.
Yes, sir.
But he's in for a surprise.
I understand. What can I do for you, kid?
Was there any luck with the guy that shot at me, sir?
I can't tell you much, kid, but all I can say is we haven't got him yet.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For the next 3 months, CSPD tries in vain to bring Kenda's attacker into custody.
This incident alone certainly fueled that desire. I wanted to be a detective because now I want to be part of the resolution. I'm tired of being part of the initiation. What about the resolution?
Finally, in January of 1975, investigators operating on a tip from an informant track the shooter, Nick, to an apartment on the east side of town, and he is apprehended without incident.
Hey, Joe, look, it's the guy that shot at you.
Really?
His name is Nick Garner.
He looked dangerous. He looked kind of scared. And he's the guy that tried to kill me, tried to take my life, tried to prevent me from ever seeing my wife and kids ever again. And yet he looks like a little drip.
So how'd you land him?
Detective Brian was able to dig up a few witnesses. He got the address of some relative's house where he was hiding out.
Nice.
When they finally did arrest him, I did feel good about it. People like that need to be in a cage, not just because they wanted to hurt me, because they wanted to hurt all of us.
Nick Garner is convicted of 1 count of felony menacing.
He went to prison for it for a very long time. That was gratifying to me.
Over the next 23 years, Kenda makes his way up the ranks at CSPD. From patrol to detective, sergeant, then lieutenant, before finally landing a post as commander in the Major Crimes Division. But looking back, he realizes it was the incident on that October night back in 1974 that cemented his dream of becoming a homicide investigator.
He wanted to be a detective. He knew that he had to start at the bottom and start working his way up. His goal was to catch the murderers. That was the #1 goal,
Joe was always one that did thrive on being on the front line and being where the action was. It's almost like being an adrenaline junkie.
I wanted to participate in something that would pit my mind against someone else's mind. The ultimate test. Are my instincts good enough to find people responsible for horrible things? I could have been a number. One of the officers killed in the line of duty. I survived. I believed I survived for a reason. I had work to do.
It began with rain. Cold, endless Seattle rain, slicing through the night like static across a dead radio line. Somewhere beyond the waterfront, sirens cut the silence, faint, lonely, swallowed by the fog. A jogger found her, lying face down near the edge of Discovery Park, half covered in leaves, one shoe missing, the other pointing toward the city's skyline that never seemed to sleep. Her name was Laura Jensen, 28, last seen leaving her apartment in Queen and just after midnight. She told a friend she was heading out for air. She never came back. Detectives arrived before dawn. The scene was eerie, almost too still. Her body showed signs of a struggle, bruises, dirt under her nails, but no weapon, no footprints, no fibers that matched anyone known. Her watch had stopped at 1:47 a.m. Her car, a faded blue Civic, was parked 3 blocks away, doors locked, keys still in her purse. Inside, there was nothing, no sign of forced entry, no fingerprints except her own. The rain had washed away everything else. The medical examiner called it homicide by strangulation. No sexual assault, no robbery, nothing stolen but a life, cleanly, methodically taken. The city moved on, but the case stuck like a splinter under the skin of the Seattle PD. Detective Alan Brewer, lead investigator, described it as a ghost crime. Every lead led to fog. Neighbors heard nothing. Cameras? None. This was 1990, before digital eyes watched every street corner. One witness mentioned seeing a dark sedan parked under a streetlight near the park entrance. The plates were smeared with mud. The driver, just a shadow, motionless. Weeks became months. The case file thickened, filled with dead ends and photocopies. Brewer chased phone records, bank statements, old boyfriends, co-workers, anyone with a reason to hate her. Laura worked as a graphic designer at a small ad agency downtown, known for her punctuality, her laugh, her strange habit of walking late at night when she couldn't sleep. She had no enemies, no debts, no drama. Until she vanished. Then came the letters. 2 months after the murder, an envelope arrived at the Seattle Times newsroom. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper, typewritten. You missed something in the park. That was all. Police combed the area again, grid by grid. They found nothing new, except a silver earring buried in the dirt 10 feet from where her body had been. It matched the one found in her left ear. But the letter, no fingerprints, no DNA. The typewriter was old, a 1960s model Smith Corona. Common, disposable. The ink ribbon analysis went nowhere. Still, someone out there wanted attention. The community grew restless. News anchors whispered cold case before the year even ended. Parents warned their daughters not to walk alone. Bars along the waterfront emptied early. The rain kept falling. Seattle turned gray, darker than usual. Detective Brewer couldn't let it go. He drove the same route Laura took that night, again and again. He stood where she parked, walked the same trails. He said he could still smell the earth, wet and metallic. He started keeping her photo in his wallet. His wife called it an obsession. Maybe it was. But he said one thing, over and over, someone's still out there. In 1992, a second case surfaced. Another woman, same age range, same cause of death. Strangled, left in a wooded area north of the city. No connection, except the eerie familiarity of the scene. This time, the victim's shoes were both missing. No sign of sexual assault. No robbery. The press called it the Park Phantom. Police denied any link at first, but the similarities bled through every report. The angle of the ligature marks, the clean dump site, the absence of DNA. Brewer swore it was the same man, The department called it coincidence. Then a third letter arrived. Same typewriter. This time, you don't learn. The task force reopened both files, comparing autopsy notes line by line. Forensic techs ran every fiber, every soil sample, through primitive databases that yielded nothing. Computers couldn't yet do what instincts could. Brewer drew maps, red pins marking every disappearance, every trailhead, every unsolved assault between 1988 and 1993. They formed a crescent around Puget Sound, like a hand closing in. But the killer stopped.
Just like that.
Years passed. Brewer retired in 2005, haunted by one case he never solved. The boxes sat in storage, labeled Jensen, open. Dust, yellowed paper, faded photos. The city grew, changed. New towers rose where the old ones fell. DNA technology advanced. Cold case units got funding. In 2018, a young detective named Lt.Joe reopened the file as part of a statewide review of unsolved homicides. She read Brewer's notes like scripture. His handwriting was tight, angry. Every margin filled with theories. Possibly park employee, lives alone local, nose trails. She noticed something no one had followed. A witness statement from a park ranger claiming he'd seen a man walking a dog near the scene around 1:30 a.m., just before the storm hit. The dog, he said, was large, black, maybe a lab mix. The man wore a baseball cap and a dark jacket. No one ever identified him. Cho found an old police sketch based on that description, generic, almost meaningless. Still, she ran it through modern databases, cross-referenced nearby kennel registrations, and found one odd pattern. In 1989 to 1991, 3 employees from the Seattle Parks Department had registered dogs matching that breed and size. 2 had alibis. 1 didn't. His name was Mark Leland, a maintenance worker. Quit the department in 1991. Moved to Oregon. No criminal record. Married once, divorced. No children. Died in 2009. Heart failure. Cho ordered his DNA tested posthumously, using a sample taken from hospital records and cross-matched it against trace evidence from Laura's clothing. Minute skin cells recovered from under her fingernails, preserved for decades in a frozen vial. The results came back inconclusive. Partial match, degraded, but enough to suggest possibility. Brewer was called in for consultation. 71 years old, gray, frail, but his eyes sharpened at the name. Leland, he whispered. I remember him. He used to mow the fields by the trail. Always there before dawn. Cho pressed further. Visited Leland's old property. The house stood empty, the windows boarded. In the basement, behind a row of rusted paint cans, she found a small metal box. Inside, clippings of newspaper articles about the 1990 case. Photos of the park. And one of Laura Jensen, cut from an office yearbook. Her eyes smiling, frozen in time. But no confession.
No fingerprints.
Nothing to close the loop. The media got wind of it. Seattle cold case reopened after 28 years. Interviews, speculation, ghosts resurrected. Brewer appeared on camera, trembling, saying he believed justice was near. Cho said they were pursuing final confirmation. The city held its breath. Then the lab called. The second DNA run, using a newer method, more sensitive, produced a shock. The skin cells under Laura's nails weren't from Leland. They were from a woman. That wasn't in any theory. None of the original suspects were female. She rechecked the chain of custody, the logs, the transfer forms. Everything was legitimate. Someone else had been there. Someone who had touched Laura before she died. Who was she? Records showed Laura had a roommate at the time, Angela Ross, 26, who left Seattle 2 weeks after the murder. Said she couldn't bear the city anymore. Police interviewed her once in 1990. She'd claimed she was asleep that night. Never questioned again. Cho tracked her down in Arizona. New name. New life. Married twice. She agreed to talk, calmly, politely. Laura was my best friend, she said. But when asked if Laura mentioned anyone following her, her tone shifted. She was seeing someone, she admitted quietly. But I never met him. She said he liked the park. Said he liked to watch the city lights from there. Joe asked for a DNA sample. Ross hesitated, then declined. You think I killed her, she whispered. After all this time?
No warrant. No cooperation. No closure.
Brewer died 2 months later. His obituary mentioned his decades of service and the one case that never left him. Joe attended the funeral. She placed a copy of the cold case photo on his casket. Rain fell again, soft, relentless. That night, she opened the evidence box one last time. Inside, beside the faded photos and brittle notes, was Brewer's final handwritten line. When truth sleeps too long, it wakes as a ghost. Outside, thunder rolled over the sound. In the archives, the lights flickered once, then went dark. The case remained open. And somewhere in Seattle, the rain kept falling. Rain has a memory, and in Seattle it remembers everything. It clings to streetlights, runs down the windows of patrol cars, seeps into the cracks where old stories hide. Months after Brewer's funeral, the city goes about its business. New condos, new coffee shops, new faces hustling under umbrellas, while in a silent corner of police headquarters, the Jensen file lies open on a metal table, a wound that refuses to close. Detective Lt.Joe stares at the crime scene photos until the images begin to blur. Laura's body, the muddy trail, broken branches, the lone shoe, turned sideways like it tried to walk away without her. She whispers the name once, quietly, Laura, not out of sentiment, but to keep the victim from sliding into the cold alphabet of case numbers and evidence tags. She knows one hard truth. When a murder goes unsolved for decades, it doesn't fade. It mutates. It becomes legend. Warning. Excuse. Outside, the cold case unit hums with low voices and fluorescent lights that never stop buzzing. Inside, Joe's world narrows to one question that refuses to die. Whose DNA lies beneath Laura Jensen's fingernails? The lab report is clinical, neat, merciless. Female profile. Partial. Degraded. Not in Cody's. Not in any criminal database. The woman who touched the victim, during the struggle, before it, after it, remains statistically invisible. Not arrested. Not convicted. A ghost with skin cells. Joe drags a finger under a line of old type on a yellowing transcript. Interview, Angela Ross. Roommate. Best friend. Claims she went to bed at 11. Claims she heard nothing. Claims she never saw anyone hanging around the building.
Claims.
The word scratches at her like sandpaper on bone. Angela refused a DNA swab in 2018, shaking, offended, then furious. She had every legal right. She also left Seattle 2 weeks after the murder and never came back. It all smells wrong. She closes the file, shrugs on her coat, and steps into the night. The city meets her with wet pavement and neon smeared by rain. She isn't heading home. She's heading backward. Discovery Park at 2 in the morning is another planet.
No Jaggers.
No families with strollers. No dogs pulling at leashes. Just the shiver of branches, the low heartbeat of waves, the distant growl of cargo ships creeping past in the dark. Joe walks the same path Laura walked, her flashlight beams slicing through the mist, the mud sucking softly at her boots.
She stops where the body was found. No tape. No markers.
Just trees, wind, and the invisible outline of where a young woman died. She listens, as if the ground might answer. It doesn't. It never does. She hears only her own breathing and the faint whisper of rain on leaves. You knew someone, she murmurs into the dark. You trusted someone enough to come out here in the middle of the night. The file says Laura liked late walks. But late walks don't usually end with a ligature buried in your throat. Routine doesn't turn to homicide by chance. Someone pushed. Her phone buzzes in her pocket, cutting through the silence. The caller ID. Lab, Rios.
Jaw.
Detective, it's Rios. You asked us to recheck the letters sent to the Seattle Times back in '90.
Yeah.
The You Missed Something in the Park fan mail. What have you got? We pulled something faint off the adhesive on the second envelope. Not enough for a full profile. But we got sex and some ancestry markers. It's male. Likely Pacific Northwest origin. Local, she says. So, our letter writer isn't the same as the female under the nails. Doesn't look like it. One more thing. There's a rare marker in there. If we ever get a suspect, this could narrow it down fast. Got it, she says. The call ends. Cho stands there in the dark, phone glowing in her hand, surrounded by two invisible figures, a silent woman whose DNA clings to the victim, and a nameless man who licks envelopes and taunts police. Two ghosts orbiting the same crime. She goes back to the beginning. They rebuild Laura's life from fragments. Old coworkers, hunted down through HR archives and social media profiles that have no idea they're being used as evidence. One remembers Laura's nervous laugh. Another remembers she always took the stairs. A third leans back, eyes drifting up as the years fall away. She was seeing some older guy, he says. Mid-30s, maybe. Intense. He'd pick her up a block away from the office. Dark car, older model. He never came inside. She said he liked to watch the city from high places. No name.
No plate.
Just a dark car and a shadow behind the wheel. In the basement of the old ad agency, now rebranded, remodeled, sanitized, Cho finds a cardboard box nobody has opened in years. VHS tapes, office parties, holiday gatherings, the ghosts of a company long gone. She signs them out and has them digitized, then watches them alone on her laptop as rain fingers the windows of her apartment. On one tape, the camera pans across a crowded bar. Cigarette smoke hangs like fog. Music hums faintly through the decades. Laura sits in a booth, laughing with Angela, both of them alive, loud, unafraid. A man's shoulder slides into frame, then the back of his head. Then, just for 2 seconds, his face as he leans down to say something in Laura's ear.
Freeze.
Grainy, but usable.
Tall.
Dark hair. Strong jaw. Glasses. A thin, pale scar crossing his left eyebrow like an old, quiet note. The timestamp reads December 15th, 1989. 8 months before Discovery Park. The bar sign on the wall matches an old photograph Cho remembers from a real estate listing, a long-gone spot on Pine, gutted and turned into a polished cocktail temple. She prints the still frame and pins it to the board in the cold case room. Unnamed male. Possible boyfriend. Possible stalker. Possible nothing. She runs the image through every facial recognition system the department can lawfully access. Jail booking photos. Old driver's license archives. Military records. The results are a parade of wrong men. Some too young in 1990, some never in Washington, some that look close in the eyes but fall apart in the jawline. No match. At 3 a.m, alone in the humming blue light of monitors, Cho looks up at the board and sees what Brewer saw for years. Chaos. Lines going everywhere. Names with no anchors. The story refuses to settle. It fractures, splinters, mocks. The next morning, a new voice muscles its way into the narrative. A local investigative podcast, Midnight Record, releases a fresh episode. Seattle 1990, The Woman in the Park. The host's voice is slick, practiced, built for suspense. He walks listeners through the crime in breathless detail, layering fact and rumor and theatrical pauses. He talks about the letters. He mentions Mark Leland. He teases the possibility of a female accomplice in the shadows. The episode catches fire. True crime forums. Social feeds. Comment sections piled with theories, accusations, memories that might be real or might be fiction. The cold case, once a dusty box on a forgotten shelf, is suddenly a trending story.
Tips start pouring in.
The official hotline gets flooded. Most of it is noise. All-caps emails from self-proclaimed psychics, rambling voicemails from drunks, shaky recollections from people who definitely saw something that one night by some trees. But buried in the flood, one message claws its way to the surface. Subject: you're digging in the wrong park. No name. No return address. Plain text, unnervingly precise. Check the maintenance shed logs from 89 to 91. The key was never where you think it was. Cho stares at the sentence. It is in the style of an online thrill seeker. It's clipped inside her. Someone who knows exactly which nerve to touch. She forwards the email to herself, prints it, then walks down into a part of city bureaucracy most people forget exists. Record storage. Decades of paper. City life flattened into folders and cramped handwriting. She signs out authorization and steps into the maze. The Parks Department boxes are heavy with mildew and dust. Maintenance reports. Fuel receipts. Work orders for broken light poles and graffiti cleanup. The static heartbeat of a city trying to maintain the illusion of order. She digs through year after year until she finds what she's looking for. Key logs. Maintenance shed B. Key access log. Columns of names, dates, and times. Anyone who needed the master key to open restricted gates, utility roads, service rooms had to sign here. Her eyes run down the list in a quick rhythm. Leland, M. 5:32 a.m. Leland, M. 4:57 a.m. Dawson, P. 11:05 p.m. Leland, M. 6:13 a.m. Then she sees it. R. Jensen, 11:10 p.m. Key out. R. Jensen, 4:03 a.m. Key in. Her brain stumbles. The last name rings like an alarm bell. Jensen. The same as the victim. The date. Mid-1989. Months before the murder. Another entry a few weeks later. Same initials. Same late-night borrowing. 10:42 p.m. out. 2:15 a.m. in. No job title.
No explanation.
A relative? A cousin working nights? Someone forging? Or someone bold enough to slide their hand into the system and write down the victim's name like a joke? Cho checks city employment records. There is no R. Jensen on payroll. No contract worker.
No temp. No seasonal hire.
No one with that name anywhere near Parks for that period. Someone signed out the master key under a false identity and nobody noticed. She holds the log sheet up to the light. The R has a smooth loop, confident, almost elegant. The J is hooked sharply, like it's snagging something. Whoever wrote this wasn't nervous. They'd done it before. She has the page scanned and sent upstairs. Forensics compares the handwriting against samples they have in old personnel files. Leland, supervisors, clerks. The analyst leans over the monitor, zooms in, traces curves and pressure. It isn't Leland, he says finally. And it doesn't match any of the others you gave me. Whoever wrote this, they're practiced. Not at official forms. At being invisible. The words sit heavy. That night the storm rolls in hard, pounding against the windows of Cho's apartment. She sits at her kitchen table, files spread out like Grimm playing cards. Victim. Roommate. Maintenance worker. Unknown male with glasses. Unknown female under the nails. Unknown letter writer. Unknown tipster. Who knows about keys? They stack like masks on a stage she can't quite see. Her phone vibrates across the tabletop. Unknown number. No caller ID. She hesitates, then answers.
Cho.
Detective Aaron Cho. A voice says. It's low, distorted, like someone talking through a cheap voice changer or too close to a fan. Gender smudged. Age erased. You went back to the park. Every nerve in her body tightens. Who is this? You stood where she died. The voice continues calmly, ignoring the question. He used to go there after. To remember. The thunder outside seems to cut out. All she hears is the slow inhale on the other end.
Who did? She asks.
You already said his name on TV, the caller says. You think it's over because he's in the ground. You think a heart attack closed the book. It didn't.
Leland, she says.
Silence. Then a barely audible chuckle, like a sound dragged over gravel. You're closer than he ever was, the voice murmurs. Closer than Brewer. Her grip tightens on the phone until her knuckles ache. Tell me who you are. You want a truth, detective? The caller says, the distortion dipping, warping, like the signal is passing through water. Stop asking who killed her. Start asking who walked away. The line goes dead, leaving only the dull, hollow sound of her own breath pressed to the receiver. No click, no farewell, just absence, abrupt and total. The apartment feels smaller, the dark corners deeper. Outside, lightning flares white for half a second, sketching the city in stark outlines before throwing it back into black. Cho stares at her phone. Recent calls, unknown. Call back. The system spits out a flat failure tone. Number blocked. No data. No location. It's like the voice never existed. She records the details while they're still hot in her head. The cadence, the distortion, the choice of words. He used to go there after. To remember. You already said his name. You think a heart attack. Close the book. Stop asking who killed her. Start asking who walked away. Not a thrill call. Not a prank. There was detail in there. Intimacy. The caller knew where she'd gone, what she'd said publicly, what she thought privately. Someone's watching the investigation. At headquarters, the recording tech pulls the audio off her device, runs it through filters, spectrograms, waves that curl and unspool across the screen like neon ghosts. He shakes his head. Whatever they used to mask the voice wasn't advanced, he says. But they weren't stupid. They routed it through an app, bounced it off a server we don't have legal hooks into. It could be coming from the next block or the next state. Any natural voice under it? She asks. There's bleed, he says. But not enough yet. I'll keep working. He doesn't say what they both know. Voices can be altered, routed, buried. Intent can't. Whoever called her is invested.
Deeply.
She prints a transcript of the call and pins it to the board. The last sentence sits there like a wound. Start asking who walked away. The words drag her back, not to Laura's final moments, but to everything before. To the nights that led to that one night. To chances to flee.
To choices not taken.
She builds a new column on the board, a separate spine to the story. Survivors. Not officially, not in any report, but in the negative space. People who were almost something else. Women who got into cars and got back out. People who signed logs and never got caught. Names that exist only in what-ifs. There's one place to start. Angela Ross's file is thin but heavy. Roommate. Friend. Last person to see her alive. She moved 2 weeks after the murder. She refused DNA. She cried on the phone in 2018 and hung up on the suggestion of guilt. But the caller's words keep circling. Start asking who walked away. Who physically walked out of that night and into another life, leaving smoke and speculation behind. Cho boards a plane to Arizona under a sky that looks like poured steel. She arrives under a different sky altogether. Open, harsh, burnt by sun instead of soaked by rain. The suburb where Angela lives is all beige stucco and manicured stone yards, the kind of place that believes distance equals safety.
No moss. No fog.
No cold. Just heat pressing down like a hand on the back of the neck. Angela opens the door half on the chain, then half again without it. She's older now, of course. Lines around the mouth, hair cut shorter, dyed lighter, the tired sharpness of someone who's outrun their 20s, but not their ghosts. For a split second, her eyes flash with something like panic. Then the practiced calm slides in. I told you everything in 2018, she says, no hello. Nothing has changed. That's not true, Cho says quietly. A lot has changed. For one thing, we found female DNA under Laura's fingernails. Angela's knuckles blanch against the edge of the door. That doesn't mean it's mine, she says. I didn't say it was, Cho answers. I said it was someone's. A long pause stretches between them. Cicadas buzz somewhere out of sight, a high, manic background track. Angela opens the door fully and steps aside. 10 minutes, she mutters. That's all I'm giving you. The interior is neat, almost aggressively so. Surfaces polished, frames aligned, no stray objects. A house curated for control. Cho's eyes sweep across it automatically. The family photos, the clean counters, the faint smell of citrus cleaner. No Seattle artifacts in sight. No skyline prints. No rain. They sit. No small talk. The words drop like stones. Did you ever go to Discovery Park at night?
Joats?
Angela stares at her. I told the police in 90.
No.
I didn't like that place. Too big. Too dark. Did Laura? She said she did.
For the view.
For the quiet. Did you ever go with her?
No. Lie.
It flickers across Angela's face. Fast, but not invisible. Joe doesn't pounce. She lets it sit there and rot in the silence. We found logs from the parks department, Joe says instead. Someone signed out a maintenance key under the name R. Jensen in 1989.
Twice.
Late at night. No record of anyone with that name working there. It's someone using your friend's last name. Angela's expression tightens, then shudders. So keys open gates, Joe continues. They open service roads. Hidden pullouts. Locked paths that aren't on public maps. The kind of places someone who doesn't want to be seen might take someone who doesn't know better. Angela swallows. Why are you telling me this? Because whoever did that was bold. Comfortable. Someone close enough to the idea of Laura to think using her name was funny. Or sentimental. Or a warning. Silence again. The cicadas grow louder, like static. A lawnmower starts up down the block, a dull drone. I didn't know anything about keys, Angela says. I didn't know anything about parks. I worked in retail and came home and tried to sleep while that city screamed at my window. You left 2 weeks after she was killed, Joe says softly. That's not coincidence. That's velocity. Something propelled you out of Seattle, like you were on fire. I couldn't stay in the apartment where Angela's voice breaks, then hardens. Where she didn't come home. Where her toothbrush was still in the bathroom and her coat was still on the hook. You try sleeping next to an empty bed every night and see how long you last. Angela, Joe says, leaning forward. Someone called me last night. They knew I'd gone back to the park. They said he used to go there after. To remember. They said I was asking the wrong question. They said I should be asking who walked away. Do you know what that means? Angela's eyes flick to the side for just a heartbeat. Not confusion. Recognition. You're being played, she says. That's what it means. These cases, they attract people. People who want to feel important. People who want to be close to the story. They called us back then, too.
Freaks.
Men breathing into the phone. Saying they saw something. Saying they did something. You can't chase every ghost. The caller knew about Brewer, Joe says. They knew about his heart attack. They talked like they were there. Everyone knows about Brewer, Angela snaps. He put his face on TV every year, like a clock. The air in the room thickens. Joe doesn't look away. Give me your DNA, she says quietly. Prove to me you're not under her nails. Clear yourself. Let me cross one name off this board so I can focus on the right ones. Angela's jaw works, a muscle ticking just under the skin. You can't force me. I can't, Joe agrees. But I can note your refusal. I can note that you were the last person to see her alive. I can note that you left town in a rush and changed your name. I can note that 35 years later, you still jump when someone says Discovery Park. And I can keep circling back until one day, maybe, some judge decides that's enough for a warrant. Lightning doesn't flash in the desert, but something like it does behind Angela's eyes.
Fear.
Anger. Memory. You weren't there, she says softly. You don't know what it was like. The police came in like a flood. They ripped through our things. They asked the same questions over and over until words stopped meaning anything. They made me feel like I killed her just by existing. I'm not them, Joe says. Yes, Angela answers, standing up abruptly. You are. Different haircut, different decade, same badge. She walks to a cabinet, opens a drawer, pulls out a small tin box. For a second, Joe's hand drifts toward her weapon, a reflexive twitch, but Angela just sets the box down between them and opens it. Inside are photos. Old, curled at the corners. Some from the office. Some from the apartment. Smiling faces, frozen parties, cheap decorations. And there, over and over, is Laura. In one picture she's wearing a raincoat, hood up, standing under an umbrella by the bay. In another, she's perched on a bar stool, eyes bright, drink in hand. In another, She's on a couch, leaning her head on Angela's shoulder, both of them laughing at something just out of frame. Angela picks up one and holds it almost gently. She loved that stupid park, she says. Said the city looked honest from up there. Small. Manageable. She'd come home with mud on her shoes and leaves in her hair and talk about the way the air smelled. I told her she was insane. Night is where bad things live. She said that was exactly why she liked it, that honesty. Did she ever come home scared? Did she ever say someone followed her? Angela's eyes flick to a different photo and stay there. Laura in a booth at that bar on Pine, the same night, the same angle Joe has already studied. Only this time, the shot is wider. The man with the glasses is more visible. The scar over the eyebrow cuts through the grain. He has one hand on the table, fingers tight around a glass, tension in the knuckles. She came home one night, Angela says, voice dropping, slowing. She locked the door twice. Checked the windows. She wouldn't tell me what happened. She just said, I saw him in a different light. I thought she meant she was falling in love. Stupid, right? She laughs once, but the sound is brittle. Maybe she meant something else. Who is he? Joe asks, tapping the man's face lightly. I never got his name, Angela says. He didn't like me. I could feel it. He'd look at me like I was in the way. Like I was ruining some perfect picture he had in his head. One night, Laura had to go to the bathroom and he sat across from me, and he smiled, but his eyes didn't. He said, You must worry about her a lot. I said I did. He said, That's good. It keeps you from making your own mistakes. That's the only full sentence he ever said to me. You never mentioned him to the police, Joe says. It's not an accusation. It's a fact, cold and sharp. They never asked the right questions, Angela replies. They asked if she had boyfriends. I said yes. They asked their names. The men I knew. They didn't ask about the man I avoided. Can I take this? Joe asks, lifting the photo carefully. Make a copy, Angela answers. I want the original back. It's one of the only things I have to prove she existed. They sit a moment longer, the weight of past and present pressing down. Joe stands to leave, the desert heat already seeping through the walls like interrogation. At the door, Angela stops her with a question, so soft Joe almost misses it. Detective, she says, eyes on the floor. If you ever find out who did it, if you ever get to look them in the face, can you tell me something? What? Tell me, Angela whispers, if they look ordinary. Or if they look like the monster I see when I close my eyes. Joe leaves without an answer. On the flight back, turbulence rattles the cabin, coffee sloshing in plastic cups, seatbelt signs glowing red. She stares at the photo on her screen. The man with the glasses, the scar, the hand gripping the drink. She enlarges the image until the pixels blur, then pulls back until the details settle. She runs his face again through updated federal systems the second she lands, this time pinging a wider net, adding parameters. Pacific Northwest, male, approximate age range in 1990, possible ties to city infrastructure, parks, utilities. She feeds in the distinctive eyebrow scar as a distinguishing mark. Hours crawl past. The system spits out a handful of possibles. One stands out. Name, Daniel Hoyt. Born, Tacoma, Washington. Occupation in 1990, electrical contractor. Known scars, L eyebrow, laceration requiring stitches after worksite accident, 1987. Residence, North Seattle, within a 12-minute drive of Discovery Park. Arrest record, none. Deceased, 2003. Single vehicle accident on a coastal highway.
Then.
Alcohol suspected, never proven. Another dead man. Another suspect buried under granite and grass. Another question mark with no mouth left to answer. She digs deeper. Phone records from the era? Spotty, archived, fragmented. Employment logs? Faded but present. Hoyt's company had a contract with the Parks Department. Lighting maintenance. Trail electrical. Access to maintenance sheds. Access to keys. There it is again, the same circle, tightening. She prints his photo, A clearer, official one this time, and pins it beside the grainy bar image. The resemblance is undeniable. Jawline, nose, the set of the mouth. The eyebrow scar is a crooked line of confirmation. The odds of two men with that mark, in that place, around that time are slim. It's him. It has to be him. But has to isn't proof. She cross-references. Who else was on those maintenance contracts? Who else had access to Shed B, to the keys, to the late-night quiet of the park? Names pile up, crew leads, laborers, drivers. She circles Hoyt's again. A pattern starts to coalesce at the edges of the chaos. He's connected to the park. He's connected to the keys. He's connected to the bar. He's connected to nothing else on paper. No domestic calls. No prior assaults. No restraining orders. Just a man who went to work, went home, and one rainy night in 2003 drove off a slick curve into the black, his car found nose down in a ditch, engine still ticking. Accident or exit? She goes back to Brewer's notes. In the margins of a 1990 report, next to a list of maintenance workers interviewed, he had scribbled a line only half legible now. D.H. says he never goes to park after hours. I said otherwise.
Brewer saw something.
He didn't have the tools to follow it. Then the trail cooled, the evidence degraded, the bones piled up. Now she's here, 3 decades later, surrounded by photos of the dead and the living, by voices on tapes and calls from the dark, by handprints on logs and DNA that refuses to confess. On her desk, the transcript of the unknown caller stares up at her. He used to go there after. To remember. If that he is Hoyt, then there's more to find. More parks. More nights. Maybe more victims, bodies never found, disappearances written off as runaways. The city outside blinks and buzzes, unaware. Somewhere, in some apartment, someone presses play on a podcast episode about the unsolved Seattle Park murder and leans in, fascinated, detached. For them, it's content. For Cho, it's a map of failure. The phone on her desk rings. Not the cell, not the personal line. The old one. The one tied to the department, the number nobody outside should have. She picks up. The line is quiet, then fills with the same warped, underwater voice. You took a flight, the caller says. She still lies to herself. Cho feels every hair on the back of her neck stand up. You're watching me, she says. I'm watching the story, the voice answers. It's the only thing still alive. Who are you, she says. If you care about the story, help me finish it. Another small, broken laugh, like air squeezed through teeth. Finish, the caller says. You still don't get it. This story doesn't end. It just changes narrators. The word hangs there between them, a live wire stretched across the line. Narrators. For a second, Cho hears only the low hum of the building around her, the tick of the old clock on the wall, the soft thunder of blood in her ears. The voice on the phone has turned the case into a story and put her on stage without her consent. You seem to know a lot about it, she says, keeping her tone flat, unshaken. Were you one of the narrators before me? A breath, not quite a sigh, drags against the distortion. We all are, the caller says. Brewer. The park. The letters. The girl who left.
You.
Even him.
Hoyt, she says.
You think his name is the key, the voice replies. Names are never the key. Access is. Access to what?
To people.
To places. To nights that nobody audits. A pause, then softer, nearly intimate. You like the park, detective. You felt it. The way the dark presses down. That's why he chose it. He thought the night would eat his mistakes. Who are you? She asks again. You're still asking the wrong question, the caller whispers. Call me when you stop. The line drops. No click. No warning.
No Woodvier.
Just a thin, sterile silence, followed by the distant murmur of normal life in the squad room outside her door. Phones.
Keyboards.
Laughter that feels offensive. She walks straight to tech. The audio is pulled, filtered, shredded into data. They study waveforms, frequencies, those faint, human artifacts that slip past digital masks. On one enhanced track, they catch something small, for steady, muffled blasts in the background, spaced out, barely audible under the warped voice. Construction? The tech offers. Too even, Cho says. He rewinds, plays it again. Somewhere behind the distortion, at precise intervals, a deeper tone bleeds through. Fogged, distant, but familiar. Could be a fairy horn, he says finally. Or a ship out in the sound. I'd put money on waterfront. They weren't calling from the desert. That's for sure. Seattle again. The city wraps back around the case like a tightening loop. She doesn't sleep that night. Instead, she pins new questions to the board like fresh crimes. Access. Narrators. Waterfront. The case has become a room of mirrors. Every angle reflects another ghost. She dives into Hoyt. Personnel records give her the skeleton. Born in Tacoma, moved north for work, a decade in electrical contracting, multiple city contracts for lighting maintenance, stadium upgrades, park infrastructure. Special clearance for after-hours repairs. Signed out keys. Signed in keys. Clockwork. His sister, Lorraine, still lives in a small house south of the city, the kind of place that stopped updating its decor in 1997 and never bothered again. Family photos line the walls. The colors faded, the smiles stubborn. She answers the door with suspicion, then wariness, then a resigned kind of curiosity when Cho shows the badge. This about the accident? She asks. I already told the other officers. It was dark, the road was slick, he'd been drinking, end of story. This isn't about the accident, Cho says. It's about a woman who died 13 years before your brother did. Lorraine's face tightens and she steps back, making space without fully inviting her in. Cho enters a living room that smells of dust and old coffee. A TV murmurs in the corner, sound low, news anchors mouthing silent emergencies. I'm going to show you a picture, Cho says. Tell me if this is your brother. She pulls out the grainy bar photo first. Lorraine squints, frowns, leans in, then nods slowly. That's him, she says. Younger.
Thinner.
Before his back went bad. He used to go out down there to the city. Said he liked the energy. I called it noise. She takes out the clear DMV shot and lays it beside the first. Same scar.
Same jaw.
Did he ever talk about a woman named Laura? Cho asks. Worked downtown. Late 80s, 1990. Discovery Park. Any of that ring a bell? Lorraine's eyes flicker. There it is again. That tiny, betraying flinch that lives on the edge of remembrance and denial. He went through phases, she says carefully. He'd fixate.
On jobs.
On hobbies. On people. She laughs once, short, humorless. There was a girl, maybe that was her. He never brought her around. Said it wasn't that kind of thing. What kind was it?
Job vets?
The kind that kept him out late. The kind that made him quiet when he came home. That's what I remember. He'd stand at the kitchen sink and just stare at nothing until the hot water ran out. I'd ask what he was thinking about. He'd say, lights. She shrugs. I thought he meant work. Lately, I'm not so sure. Did he go to Discovery Park?
Ja ats?
All the time, she says. He had keys to everything back then. Parks, buildings, stadiums. He said the city was more honest when it was empty. Her mouth twists. He and your victim would have gotten along, I guess. Did he ever come home injured?
Ja ats?
Scratches, bruises, anything that didn't match his work. Lorraine closes her eyes for a second, sifting. One time he had marks on his neck, she says slowly. Red lines. I joked that some woman had gotten rough with him. He got mad. Not embarrassed, angry. Told me not to ask about his personal life. The next day they were gone. She nods toward a shelf. There are stacks of old VHS tapes, unlabeled except for dates scrawled in marker.
He filmed everything, she says.
Couldn't take photos like normal people. Had to carry that damn camcorder everywhere. Trips, job sites, the water, the ferries. Said he wanted to remember the dark. After he died, I couldn't bring myself to watch them. Cho signs them out as evidence and takes them to be digitized. Once again, she finds herself watching ghosts walk and talk on a flat screen in a dark room while the real city moves on outside. On one tape, labeled by date only, August 1990, Hoyt walks alone along a trail. The camera tilts down at his shoes, back up to the skinny path ahead, then to trees rising on either side like cathedral pillars.
He doesn't speak.
The only sounds are wind, breath, the distant boom of surf. A familiar sign flashes dead center for a second, Discovery Park Trail. He stops at a clearing where you can see the city's lights spread out like circuitry against the night. The camera lingers on the skyline, then whips around abruptly as if he heard something behind him. There's nothing there. The footage ends in static. On another tape, from the same month, the camera captures water. Just water. Black. Endless. Shifting in the beam of some distant light. In the background, almost lost, a horn sounds, long, low, mournful. A fairy. The exact tone she heard buried in the caller's voice. She pauses the frame, rewinds, plays it again. Hoyt was drawn to the same noises, the same spaces, the same borderlines between visibility and disappearance.
Parks.
Water. Height. It's a pattern she can't ignore. But it's not proof. Not enough to close a case. Not enough to say his name in court, even if his body lies beyond jurisdiction now. She sends the tapes to audio for deeper analysis. Maybe there's a voice on the edge of the frame. A laugh. A fragment of conversation. Something that says he wasn't alone. While tech works, she pushes the science further. If the unknown female DNA under Laura's nails doesn't match any criminal database and Angelo won't cooperate, there's another route. Genealogy. The quiet revolution that turned relatives into witnesses and family trees into maps of guilt. It's risky.
Slow.
Politically messy. But the department has started doing it, partnering with private labs that comb through open-source ancestry data to find relatives instead of suspects. A cousin's vanity test becomes a breadcrumb. A distant uncle's curiosity becomes a chain. Rios at the lab looks at the degraded sample and shakes his head first, then shrugs.
We can try, he says.
No promises. It's like trying to rebuild a torn-up photograph from glitter, but sometimes glitter is all you get. They send it out. Weeks bleed past in the space of days. Cho moves through them like someone underwater. The podcast releases another episode. Voices from the park. This time they leak. The host somehow has audio from one of the letters being read out, from a taped 1990 interview with Brewer, from a voicemail a woman left the hotline claiming she was nearly attacked on a trail the same year. The narrative tightens into a noose. She hears her own name spoken, stretched into a character on the show. Detective Aaron Cho, the host intones, who some say is closer than anyone has ever been to solving the Seattle Park Phantom case. It's flattering. It's false. It adds weight to her shoulders she didn't ask for. Online, a new wave of tip surges in. One stands out not because of what it says, but because of what it echoes. Subject. I walked away. The body of the email is short. No flourish, no performance. I'm not the killer. If I was, I wouldn't be writing. I'm one of the people you're suddenly interested in. I was there one night. Not when she died, but close enough. I think I was meant to be her. If you want to talk, you'll know how to find me. I've been leaving breadcrumbs for years. You just call them noise. Attached is a single, low-resolution photo of a hand gripping a payphone receiver taken decades ago. The angle is strange, like a self-portrait before front-facing cameras existed. The only identifying mark is a small, jagged scar on the ring finger. Rios calls the same day. His voice carries that inverse tone detectives learn to recognize immediately, the one that's excited and heavy at the same time.
We got something, he says.
From the genealogy side. I told you glitter, but sometimes glitter spells a name. What is it? She asks. The unknown female DNA is not just some random person who brushed past your victim in a hallway, he says. It's a close relative. First degree, maybe. Parent-child, sibling level. Based on the markers we could salvage, The closest match in open databases links back to a Jensen family line in eastern Washington.
Small town.
Tight tree. Relatives of Laura, Cho says.
Most likely, he says.
The best fit is this. The unknown female is either Laura's sister or her mother. Cho feels the floor tilt beneath her, a slow sideways slide. Her mother was dead before she moved to Seattle, she says, mind riffling through the file.
Car accident. Documented.
We have the death certificate. So, unless your victim was clawing at a corpse, Rios says, we're talking about a sister. Maybe half-sister. Maybe someone nobody knew about. Someone whose DNA never made it into any database, but whose cousins and aunts and grandparents did.
Sister.
The word doesn't exist anywhere in the original reports. No mention of siblings. No emergency contact except an uncle. No talk from coworkers about family visits. A hidden branch of the tree, snapped off and buried.
Her search shifts.
She digs through birth records now, not just criminal ones. Hospital logs from the small town where Laura grew up. Census data. Obituaries. Old school yearbooks scanned and uploaded by nostalgic strangers. The past has gone digital and forgets nothing. There it is, a blurred listing on a 1970s hospital register. Jensen, female, twins. One stillborn, one alive. But the dates don't line up right.
Too early.
Another record. This one quieter, half erasured. A handwritten correction in a county file. Adoption paperwork sealed. Names redacted. Only a note in the margin. Linked to Jensen case. Adoption. Another daughter. Another life. When she calls the clerk in that town, the woman on the other end of the line sounds like she's been waiting for this question for years. I can't give you names over the phone, the clerk says. You know that. But I can tell you this. There was concern. People whispered. The Jensens had a complicated situation. How complicated? Complicated enough that one girl went west with a scholarship and another vanished into paperwork. We processed an adoption in '72. Father unknown, mother unmarried. It's all sealed now. But sealed doesn't mean empty. Can you at least tell me if that child stayed in state? Cho asks. A pause. Paper rustles in the background. Looks like she stayed in Washington for a while. The clerk says finally. Then the trail migrates. Different last name. Different county. By the time the 80s hit, she could have been anyone. Anyone. Or the woman under Laura's nails. The unknown caller's words loop back like a boomerang. Stop asking who killed her. Start asking who walked away. What if someone else was at that park that night? Someone who shared blood, anger, history? Someone who fought with her, held her, tried to pull her free, left marks that survived longer than memory. Or someone who helped. The I walked away email glares at her from the screen. Breadcrumbs.
Noise.
She does what the sender challenged her to do. She looks for the trail. References in forums over the years from a user who keeps circling the same cases. Comments on articles about unsolved Washington homicides. Always the same style. Short, sharp, disdainful of the official story. Always mentioning one detail the media didn't emphasize. A hint that they read more than the headlines. The username is simple, Night Key. She runs it through everything she has. IP logs from website cooperation requests. Email registration trails. VPNs, proxies, digital masks. Some pings bounce off out-of-state servers, but one cluster keeps returning to the same area, Seattle waterfront. In the shadow of the ferries. Cho stares at the map. Pins mark points along the piers, coffee shops and libraries with public Wi-Fi, an apartment building that went up in the late 2000s. Expensive, glassy, full of people who like watching water without thinking about what's under it. A new narrator, living above the old stage. She prints it all. The map, the emails, the genealogical branches reaching like veins across counties. The tapes of Hoyt walking the park alone. The photo of his hand clenching a camcorder. The photo of the unknown hand on the payphone, scar on the ring finger like a reluctant signature. The board is no longer a web, it's an artery system. Blood paths. Pulse points. She steps back and realizes something that makes the tiny hairs on her arms rise. Every route she draws, Hoyt's access, Laura's walks, the keys, the collar, the gene markers, the scattered comments from Night Key, converge on 3 fixed places: the park, the waterfront, and one old telephone exchange that, in 1990, routed every payphone call from the Queen and Magnolia area through a single switching hub before sending it out into the world. The same hub where, 35 years later, a distorted voice slipped through to her line, dragging the past with it like a net full of bones. In the end, it always comes back to infrastructure. Wires.
Keys.
Access. Stories don't just find narrators. Narrators find lines. And then they begin to pull. The building doesn't look like a place where voices live. It looks like any forgotten brick box squatting between sleeker glass towers on the edge of the waterfront. Windows sealed, doors unmarked, a faded utility. Authorized access only, sign bolted to metal that started to rust. People walk past it on their way to modern problems. Late ferries, dead batteries, missed texts. Nobody wonders what used to move through the cables behind those walls. Cho does. She shows her badge at the side entrance, and the uniform posted there buzzes her in, eyes flicking over her shoulder as if the past might try to slip in after her. Inside, the air smells like dust, ozone, and old insulation. Narrow hallways. Cable trunks bolted overhead like exposed veins. The low mechanical hum of machines doing thankless work. A gray-haired man in a polo shirt meets her halfway down the corridor. Name badge, Connor. Title, Network Operations. He walks with a slight limp, one hand resting on the railing as they climb a short set of stairs to a room lined with blinking racks. I read your email, he says. Had to pull some serious strings to get you down here. What you're asking for, it's archaeology. I'm not asking for calls, Cho says. I know they're gone. I'm asking for patterns. Routing history. Where the lines went in 1990. He snorts softly. You and 100 podcasters. The difference is you've got a warrant. He leads her into an older annex where the equipment doesn't blink. It just looms. Metal frames. Tangled wires. A smell of oil and old paper. Against one wall stands a hulking gray cabinet that looks like it should be in a museum. Connor pats it with something like affection. Before your time, he says. Mechanical switch. This was the brain for this end of the city. Queen and Magnolia. Most of the payphones in those neighborhoods lit up through here. Someone drops a quarter. The metal sings. This beast wakes up and throws the call down the right tunnel. Cho runs her fingers lightly over the battered surface. Tiny dents. Scratches. Human contact fossilized in steel. You said there was something unusual about the logs from that era, she says. He hands her a stack of dot matrix printouts bound with a crumbling elastic band. Faint ink. Endless columns of numbers and codes. He flips through until he finds one page marked with a yellowed sticky note.
Here, he says.
These are test calls recorded off a diagnostic line. Techs use them to check for bad switches. Couple of them got saved because someone forgot to clear them. Most are normal, random noise, wrong numbers. But this 1 inch. He taps a timestamp, 1:42 a.m. date, 10/12/90. 5 minutes before Laura's watch stopped. What is it? She asks. Call originates from a payphone by the Queen and bus stop, Connor says. That phone fed through here. Someone picked up the receiver and dialed 3 digits. He pauses.
911.
The call connected, then cut off after 4 seconds. No voice, just breathing. No record in the original case file. No note. No mention of a dropped emergency call. Dispatched, she asks. Not from here, he says. If the operator didn't hear anything, maybe they tagged it as a misdial. Maybe someone bumped the buttons. Or maybe he spreads his hands. There's only so much a machine like this can tell you. She imagines it. Cold metal against a shaking palm. Finger hitting 9, then 1 again. The line opening. Silence. A choice made in those 4 seconds. Speak, scream, hang up, or be pulled away. Can you tell if the call came from the wall unit or the handset? She asks, already knowing the answer. Connor gives her a look that says he's not a magician. All I've got is digits, detective. Everything else is your department. Outside, the air tastes like salt and diesel. Ferries shove their way across the water, horns groaning like wounded beasts. The wind is sharp, smelling of rain that hasn't arrived yet. Cho stands there for a moment, staring toward Queen and seeing not the hill but the route. From Laura's apartment, down the slope, past that bus stop, toward the park. A path you could walk with your eyes closed if you'd walked it enough. A path you could be dragged along, half fighting, if someone stronger had a hand on your arm and another over your mouth. If someone else was there, close enough to leave DNA under your nails, close enough to punch 3 numbers before everything went black. Back at the station, the payphone photo from the email burns in the center of her board. A hand gripping an old receiver, thumb whitening against the plastic. A small jagged scar on the ring finger. She zooms in on the image until the pixels trip over each other. The scar is distinct but not detailed. It could be anything: a kitchen accident, a bad fall, a smashed bottle. It could belong to a stranger. It could belong to someone whose DNA is already under her victim's skin. Night Key. The woman who claims she walked away. She pushes on the genealogy data harder, leaning on state agencies, wrapping warrants around adoption files that would rather stay closed. Bit by bit, paper reluctant to speak clears its throat. An adoption in 1972. Baby girl. Original last name Jensen. New last name redacted. She ends up with a couple in Yakima. They move twice. The girl's paperwork changes. New school district. New health records. A teenage behavioral note in a counselor's file. Trouble with authority. Runs away. Fixated on questions about biological origins. At 17, she disappears from their address records and surfaces a year later in Seattle as a line in a waitress schedule at a diner that no longer exists. A new name. A new social security number keyed to that name. No criminal record. No marriage license.
No morgue.
Just jobs. Apartments. A life lived at the edges of the grid. Enough to function. Not enough to be held. Cho feeds that name, Elena Ward, into every database she has. There are hints. Utility bills. A landlord's complaint. An emergency room visit for a cut hand in 1989. Laceration to ring finger.
Glass.
For stitches. She prints the report and reads it 3 times. The date is 6 months before the murder. The injury is on the same finger as the scar in the photo.
Elena Ward.
Adopted Jensen. Possibly Laura's half-sister or full sister, depending on how honest the paperwork wanted to be that year. Laceration. Disappears from state records entirely after 1995 and resurfaces only in the digital shadow world as Night Key posting under anonymous handles on unsolved case forums, logged from IP blocks near the waterfront. Who walked away? She traces the last known address tied to the ward name. A P.O. box, then a storage unit, then nothing. She traces the IP clusters from Night Key's posts, a chain of public Wi-Fi nodes. Coffee shops that play indie music too loud. A library branch that smells like soap and paper. A pier. There is one constant. The glass high-rise Connor pointed at on the map. A luxury stack of steel and windows slapped down over land that used to be industrial and ignored. The IP logs show repeated connections to the building's guest network. Same device identifier. Different days. Same hours. Late. When the city goes quiet and the water below turns black. She goes there on a Friday night. The lobby is all marble and brushed metal, security desk gleaming under recessed lighting. There's a wall of mailboxes with small, neat numbers. A panel listing resident floors and amenities.
Gym.
Rooftop deck. Conference room. Community lounge with waterfront views. The sign says, as if that soft phrase could erase the history buried under the foundation. Underfoot, the faint vibration of the ancient switching lines still humming somewhere deep underground. The security guard looks up as she flashes the badge. He's young, bored, the kind of guy who practiced serious faces in the mirror. Detective, he says warily. Something going on? Maybe, she says. I need access to your guest Wi-Fi logs. Specific device ID. Specific dates. He frowns. We wipe sign-ins every month as per policy. But the ISP doesn't, she says. We already talked to them. What I need from you is video. She shows him the printout, timestamps tied to connections. Nights when someone logging in as a visitor jumped onto the building's network from the lobby or lounge, used it for an hour or two, vanished. He hesitates, then nods, taps at the terminal, and pulls up camera feeds. They scrub through nights in accelerated flicker, people coming home with takeout, delivery drivers wheeling carts, couples arguing in low voices, a man in a suit checking his reflection too long. Then, 11:08 p.m. A woman steps into frame near the seating area opposite the security desk. The camera catches her at an angle, grainy but sharp enough. Hoodie, jeans, hair tucked under a beanie. She sits down with her back partially to the camera, opens an old, beat-up laptop covered in stickers. One hand reaches into the frame to pick up a phone sitting in the crook of her shoulder bag. The ring finger shows for a second.
Scar.
Joe tells the guard to stop. Rewind.
Freeze. Zoom.
The resolution fights her, but the line is there, pale and jagged, across knuckle and down the finger. The same track as the photograph. The same age, the same angle. She feels a cold certainty settle in her chest. Have you seen her before? She asks the guard.
He squints.
Yeah. Couple times a month. Doesn't live here, far as I know. Always signs in as guest. Sits there. Uses the Wi-Fi. Keeps to herself. Sometimes she's here past midnight. I figured she was just mooching off rich people internet. You ever talk to her?
Joats?
Not really, he says. She doesn't look like she wants to talk. Does she come at specific times? He shrugs.
Late.
Always late.
Late.
When the ferries sound. When the horns from the water line up with the muffled calls on a distorted phone line. When ghosts feel safe enough to step out of their corners and sit in public. Joe takes the still image with her and leaves, the glass doors sliding shut behind her with a soft hiss that sounds too much like secrecy. She doesn't move on her right away. Not yet. She doesn't want another spooked call from behind digital masks. She wants something physical. Solid. Something that reeks of 1990. She goes back to the neighborhood where Laura's apartment used to stand. The building is still there, but it's been painted over, rebranded, renamed. The hardware store on the corner is now an artisanal bakery. The old bus stop has a sleek glass shelter. The payphone is gone, replaced by an ad for a streaming service and a QR code. She stands in the rain, tracing where the phone would have been. A metal pedestal. A box. A cord. The threshold between a silent scream and a recorded one. People shuffle past her holding coffees and phones, thumbs dancing over screens. No one looks at the empty space. Across the street, there's a narrow alley that isn't on most tourist maps. It leads to the back of the old building, where the brick is darker and the graffiti is older. The alley smells like damp paper and rust. Halfway down, a recessed doorway shelters an unofficial shrine. A cluster of candles burned down to stubs, wax pooled on the cracked concrete, old photographs warped by rain. Somebody has taped a printout from a true crime forum to the wall. It shows a scan of the original newspaper article about the 1990 murder, headline smudged, Laura's face staring out, eyes still bright but now framed by the words unsolved and who killed her, in screaming caps. Joe sees fresh flowers jammed into a rusted pipe. Not old.
New.
Someone still comes here. Someone still doesn't let the story end. She hears footsteps behind her.
Light.
Careful. Someone realizing too late they're not alone. She turns. The woman in the hoodie is standing at the mouth of the alley, 3 steps in, 3 steps from safety. Same build as on the security footage. Same face as the blurred still. Older, etched by years, but unmistakable. Eyes sharp, darting, taking everything in. Her hands are empty, but tension runs through her arms like wire. They freeze, the rain ticking in the space between them. Ms. Ward, Joe says softly. The woman's jaw tightens. That's not my name.
Elena?
Do you prefer that? The woman's mouth twitches. I prefer nothing, she says. Her voice is lower than the caller's, unfiltered, but the rhythm is there. Short, clipped. Efficient. Names are for people who sit at tables and sign things. You sign into Wi-Fi lobbies, Cho says. You sign night key under articles about dead women. You sign payphone pictures with scars. You sign more than you think. A flicker of something, anger, fear, amusement, crosses Elena's face. You really don't like noise, do you? She says. All those tips, all those comments. You think they're in the way. But you followed them.
You followed me.
Are you the one who called me?
Jo ats?
Elena's gaze slides briefly toward the end of the alley, toward the slice of gray sky and moving bodies. Then back. Would it matter if I said yes? She answers. Would it matter if I said no? You already decided what box to put me in. I haven't decided anything, Cho says. That's why I'm here. To decide. To stop guessing. To stop turning people into narrators and get back to who bled on the ground. Elena's eyes flick to the warped photo of Laura on the wall. For a second, the hardness in her expression fractures, letting something raw show through. I know, she says quietly. I was there, remember? You said you walked away, Cho replies. What does that mean? Elena steps further into the alley. The rain catches in her hair, darkening it, pulling it flat. Tiny drops clinging to her eyelashes. It means you're asking the wrong question, she says, and there's a ghost of the distorted cadence in those words. Again. Then tell me the right one, Cho says. You came here. You leave flowers. You haunt forums. You sit in buildings that look down on water and listen to horns that sound like the ones on a tape from 1990. You want to be found. So say it. For a heartbeat, the only sound is rain on metal and the distant churn of traffic. The city holds its breath. Elena looks at the ground, at the pooled candle wax, at the soaked printouts. The question isn't who killed her, she says finally. It isn't even who walked away. It's who was supposed to die that night. The words drop between them like a body. The sentence hits harder than a confession. Not who killed her. Not who walked away.
Who was supposed to die that night.
The alley seems to tilt, the rain slanting sideways, the city rearranging itself around that one idea. Cho doesn't move. Explain, she says. Elena exhales slowly, like air leaking from a tire. You know how it is in old files, she says. They flatten people. Victim. Suspect. Witness. But before that night, we were just bad decisions. We were messy. We were not bullet points. Start with you and Laura, Cho says. Start with how you knew her before she became a case number. Elena gives a short, humorless laugh. You already know on paper, she says. Adoption. Closed records. Jensen in one column, Ward in another. But paper doesn't show the parts in between. Paper doesn't show the first time I saw her face. She stares past Cho, past the alley wall stained with candle smoke, back into some other darkness.
I was 20, she says.
Yakima was choking me. Same streets, same stories, same small-town cops who knew every fight before it started. I did some digging. Found just enough of the truth to get a last name. Jensen. So I came west. I thought I'd walk into a movie. Reunion.
Tears.
The whole thing. Her mouth lifts in a bitter half-smile. Instead, I walked into a lobby. Her building, Cho says.
Yeah, Helena answers.
I stood there with a piece of paper that had her address and nothing else. I didn't know what I was going to say. Hi, I'm the part of your life they didn't tell you about. But I didn't have to. She came down the stairs while I was still trying to remember how to breathe. The rain softens for a moment, a brief lull, like the weather is listening. She looked like my reflection if someone had ironed it, Elena says quietly. Same eyes, same mouth, different posture. She stood up straight. She wore clothes that fit. She had a bag that wasn't falling apart. I knew right then she'd never had to steal bus fare or lie about where she slept. She saw me staring and she said, "Can I help you?" And I said the stupidest thing I've ever said in my life. I think we have the same face. And And she laughed. Elena says. Of course she did. What else do you do when a stranger says that? She thought I was crazy. I don't blame her. But she didn't walk away. She asked my name. I told her the one they gave me. I told her the one I'd found in a drawer, with a different date. I told her about a hospital in a small town where the nurses whispered. She went quiet. Really quiet. Then she sat down on the bottom step like someone had kicked her knees out from under her.
She didn't know about you, Cho says.
She knew something, Elena replies. Kids aren't stupid. She knew there were gaps. She knew her mother flinched at certain questions. She knew there was a reason there were no baby pictures before a certain age. I just put a name on the hole. How did it go after that? For a while. Elena shrugs. Like a bad sitcom audition. We tried.
Coffee. Walks.
Awkward questions. We'd sit in that crappy apartment and trade stories like baseball cards. First time you got drunk. First time you ran away. First time you realized adults lie. I kept waiting for her to freak out and slam the door for good, but she didn't. She said she felt like she'd found a missing chapter. And you? Cho asks. I thought I'd found an exit, Elena says. A way out of being the girl who always left first.
She had a job.
An address. A bed with sheets that matched. She'd saved a little, planned a lot, and somehow carved a clean life out of a dirty world. Being near her felt safer. Like if he came looking for me, he'd hit the wrong door. Cho feels the word snag.
He, she repeats.
Hoyt. Elena's eyes cut to her, sharp. You found him then, she says.
No surprise.
Just confirmation. We found his contracts. His tapes. His scar, Cho says. We know he had access to the park. To the keys. To you, apparently. He had access to everything, Elena says softly. That was his thing. He liked doors. Gates. Codes. He called them permissions. Said having the right keys made the city honest. You saw who really belonged where. How did you meet him? Cho asks. Not the romantic way, Elena says dryly. No movie music. I was working nights at a diner that never shut its lights off. He'd come in around 2 a.m. sometimes after jobs. Sit at the counter, drink coffee like it owed him money. He'd watch people. Not in a creepy way at first, more like he was studying them. Learning patterns. I was good at ignoring men, but he wasn't like the others. He tipped well. He listened. And then one night, he looked at me, really looked and said, You walk home alone, don't you? She snorts.
Elite.
Said my boyfriend picked me up every night. He smiled like he knew I was full of it, and the next night he was outside at closing, leaning on his car. Said, I'm headed that way anyway. That was the first time I got in. My first mistake. Cho can almost see it. Neon buzzing, rain on metal, a young woman with tired eyes making a tired decision because exhaustion feels like gravity. He was charming in a broken way, Elena continues. He knew facts about the city that made you feel like you were being let in on some secret. Which buildings were empty. Which lights were on timers. Which security guards fell asleep. He'd point and say, if that stairwell light ever goes out, don't use it. The camera there hasn't worked in years. You don't think predator when someone is teaching you survival tricks. You think ally. Did you ever feel unsafe with him? Not at first, Elena says. He talked about his job, his sister, the way the park looked from the trails at night. I'd seen it during the day, maybe once. Too big, too exposed. But when he described it, the quiet, the view, the way the city lights looked like someone spilled jewelry on black velvet, it sounded clean. He said he went there to clear his head after night shifts. He said the dark was better than crowds. Did you tell Laura about him? Eventually, Elena says. Not at first. I was selfish. He was mine. My ride, my late-night listener, my proof that I wasn't as toxic as every social worker had suggested. But secrets itch. She knew something was up, late calls, early mornings. One day she said, You're disappearing again. I hated hearing that from her mouth. I didn't want to be a ghost in her story. So I introduced them. Where? Cho asks. At that bar on Pine, she says, nodding toward the photo still taped to the bricks. The one you've already turned into evidence. I told myself it was a test. If he could sit across from both of us and not make me feel small, it meant he was real. Stable. Someone I could actually keep in my life without turning it into a disaster. And
Job bullshit.
And he failed, Elena says.
Not loudly.
Not in a way anyone else would have noticed. He smiled at her differently. He leaned in when she talked. With me, he listened like he was taking notes. With her, he listened like he was hearing music. It took exactly 15 minutes for me to realize he'd never really been looking at me. I was the road. She was the destination. The air in the alley thickens. Even the rain seems to hesitate, hanging heavy in the air. Did you confront him?
Joats?
I confronted myself first, Elena says. I looked at Laura and thought, of course. Of course, he'd want the version of me that had a degree and a desk. Of course, he'd pick the one whose life didn't come with trash bags and case files. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I was used to being the understudy. Still, I stopped answering his calls for a while. Stopped taking rides. I thought that would fix it. But it didn't, Cho says. No, Elena's voice goes flat. He started showing up places he shouldn't. Outside the diner when I got off early. 2 blocks from our apartment when he had no reason to be in the neighborhood. He'd say it was coincidence. City's not that big, he'd joke. But the park is. The park is huge. And somehow he always managed to bump into Laura there. Cho feels something cold slide down her spine. She never told us that, she says. She didn't want to admit she liked the attention, Elena answers. We fought about it. I told her it wasn't safe to meet him alone. That he didn't understand boundaries, that he liked having access more than he liked having relationships. She said I was jealous. I was. That doesn't mean I was wrong. Walk me through the night, Cho says. Her voice drops until it's almost a growl. Every minute you remember. Because right now the only clear thing we have is a body in the park, a 911 call that lasted 4 seconds, and your DNA under her nails. Something flashes in Elena's eyes at that last part, a mix of shame and defiance. You promised them you'd stop asking who killed her, she says quietly. You're worse than Brewer. He at least pretended there were other questions. Then, before Cho can react, she steps closer, invading the distance between them. For a second, Cho smells her rain. Old cigarette smoke, the faint chemical tang of cheap soap. You want the night? Elena says.
Fine.
Here's the headline you love so much. Sisters walk into the dark. Only one comes back. Put that on your board. Print it on a t-shirt. Just remember, cut lines don't make the picture clearer. They just make it bloodier. I don't need lines, Cho says. I need times. Places. You at the apartment. You at the park. You at the phone. You walking away. Elena looks at her like she's measuring how much truth the detective can actually carry. We argued, she says finally. You want a timestamp? Call it around midnight. She was getting ready to go out, pacing, wearing that jacket she loved. You saw it in the photos, blue, too thin for the weather. I asked where she was going. She said, same place as always. I said, is he going to be there? She said, maybe. You tried to stop her, Cho says. Not a question. I tried to stop the pattern, Elena says. I told her he scared me. Not in the usual ways. I've met plenty of men who want to break things. He wanted to orange them. He liked planning. He liked knowing who would be where before they knew themselves. She said I was being dramatic. She said, you see ghosts everywhere because you grew up in the dark. I told her she grew up with a nightlight and had no idea how fast the switch could flip. Her voice cracks once, then hardens again. She left anyway, Elena continues. She said she needed air. Space. Perspective. All those words people use when they want to dress up walking into danger like it's therapy. I said I was coming with her. She said no. Said she wanted to be alone. I grabbed her arm. She pulled away. That's probably when I left your precious DNA under her nails. Satisfied. Joe's fingers twitch, wanting a pen, paper, anything to pin this down with more than memory. You stayed, she asks. For maybe 3 minutes, Elena says. Then I did the thing I always do. I broke my own rule. I went after her. She looks past Joe again, eyes seeing trails instead of alley walls. It was raining harder by then, she says. The streets were slick. Her car was still where she always left it, by the corner. I cut through the back route, up past the bus stop. The payphone was there, humming like it always did, this ugly metal anchor stuck in the sidewalk. I thought about calling her, telling her if she didn't let me come, I'd call the cops just to be a pain. Instead, I walked right past it. I told myself she'd turn around on her own, that she'd reach the park entrance, get spooked, come back down.
But she didn't, Joe says.
No, Elena answers. I turned around first. The admission hangs there. Joe feels frustration spike, hot and sharp. Why? She demands. You knew something was wrong. You knew he was wrong. Why turn back? Elena presses her lips together. Rain beads along the scar on her finger, turning it white. Because some of us don't escape our wiring, she says. I got halfway up the hill and realized if I found them together, I'd break something I couldn't fix. Her illusion. My fantasy. I didn't want to watch him choose her in front of me. I'd spent a lifetime losing rooms I walked into. I wasn't going to watch it happen with the only person who made this city feel like more than another halfway house.
So I did what I do best.
I bailed. I went home. I slammed the door. I waited. How long? Joe asks. Long enough for the clock to feel like an accusation, Elena says. Every minute she didn't come back turned into another version of the story in my head. She'd gone to his place. She decided I was toxic. She'd gotten drunk, crashed on someone's couch, forgotten to call. I hated her. I loved her. I rehearsed what I'd say when she walked in. You're an idiot. I'm sorry.
Don't do that again.
I did everything except the one thing that mattered. Call. Joe says softly. Yeah, Elena says.
Call.
You know that test log your cable man showed you? The abortive 911?
That wasn't me.
I didn't even touch the phone until later. Later when? Joe asks. When the siren started. Elena answers. You ever notice how, in a city, the first one blends in? You hear it and think, that's someone else's problem. The second one makes you turn your head. The third one makes your heart race even if you've done nothing wrong. They went past our street, headed toward the water. I went to the window. Blue lights reflecting off wet brick. I felt it in my teeth. I went down to the lobby, without deciding to. People were at the door, craning necks. No one stepped outside. She inhales sharp. I walked out, she says. I told myself I was stupid. Overreacting. Trauma-brained, as one therapist put it. I followed the direction of the lights. Up the hill. Past that same payphone. This time I did stop. I picked it up. I heard static. I heard dispatch. I heard myself breathe. I didn't dial 911. I didn't say anything. I just listened to some operator on another line say, "Hello? Hello?" on a call that had already ended. Then I hung up and I kept walking.
Toward the park.
Toward the part of my life that was about to get a yellow tape around it. The alley closes in, the darkness behind her words thick enough to see. I climbed over the barrier, she says. Stupid. Dangerous. A rookie cop yelled at me, and I kept going until someone grabbed me. I saw the shape on the ground, and I knew the jacket before I knew the face. I tried to get closer. They pulled me back. I fought. I clawed. I probably scratched that officer worse than she scratched him. And somewhere in that mess, I think I grabbed Laura's hand. I don't know if she could still feel it. You're the scientist. You tell me. Joe doesn't speak. The picture is there now. A raw, chaotic scene. A woman flinging herself at a body on the ground. Fingers digging in, leaving microscopic traces the decades would not erase. You told the police you were at home. Joe says eventually. I told them what they were ready to hear, Elena says. Freaked out roommate found out from a phone call. Simple.
Clean.
Less paperwork. You think they wanted to add unauthorized civilian breach of crime scene to their report? One officer took my statement, then another, then another. Every time I tried to tell them she wasn't the only one he followed, they steered it back to safer questions. Who did she date? Who did she fight with? Did she do drugs? Did she provoke him? Same old script. I realized pretty quick it didn't matter what I said. They'd write the story they wanted. So you rewrote your own, Joe says. Elena's eyes meet hers, hard now. Are you really going to stand there and judge me for protecting the one piece of control I had? She asks. I didn't kill her. I didn't hire him. I didn't put the keys in his hand or the rope around her throat. The worst thing I did was turn back when I should have kept walking. And believe me, detective, I've been sentencing myself for that for 35 years. I don't need your gavel. A gust of wind drives the rain deeper into the alley. Somewhere nearby, a fairy horn moans, that same long, low sound that has threaded through tapes and calls and sleepless nights. The question you should be asking, Elena says, voice low, is why he picked her. Because he didn't meet her first. He met me. He followed me. He watched me close the diner, walk streets nobody else wanted, cut across alleys like this one because it made the shift shorter. I was the one who knew about the park because he wouldn't shut up about it. I was the one he called Night Girl. I was the one working under bad street lamps while he fixed the good ones. Her hands curl into fists, scars whitening. If I hadn't walked into that lobby and told a stranger we had the same face, she says, if I hadn't introduced them, if I hadn't gotten tired of being the only one holding the weight of that man in my phone, maybe he never would have looked at her twice. Maybe he would have stayed locked on me until I finally got smart or finally disappeared. She died because I changed the script. That's what I mean when I say I walked away. I walked away from my own fate and handed it to someone who didn't know she was catching it. There it is, not a confession of murder, but a confession of guilt, raw and unprosecutable. You think she was a substitution, Joe says. You think you were the intended target. I know I fit his pattern better, Elena says.
Alone.
Disposable. No nice coworkers to file missing persons reports. No detective who would carry her picture in his wallet until the day he died. He upgraded. That's what men like him do when you give them options. Joe feels the case shift again, tectonic plates grinding beneath a city that has no idea it's standing on a fault line. Why come back now, she asks. Why emails? Why calls? Why Nike? Because they kept telling the story wrong, Elena says. Every podcast. Every article. They turned her into a symbol and him into a ghost. They erased everyone in between. The girls who got rides and got home. The ones who felt fingers on the back of their necks in the park and ran before the second hand on the watch hit 12. The ones who were supposed to be headlines and ended up as footnotes on forums. I thought if I shouted loud enough from the margins, someone would hear the right question. Took you long enough. Was that you on the phone? Joe asks again. Distorted voice. Waterfront noise. Telling me this isn't about who killed her. Elena's eyes drift toward the mouth of the alley again, toward the water beyond the buildings. I made a lot of calls in my life, she says. Some to hotlines that hung up when I didn't cry on cue. Some to operators who wrote prank on a log because I couldn't get words past my throat. Some to men who liked breathing more than talking. You're the detective. You decide which ones matter. It's not an answer, but it's all she's getting. I can't clear you without DNA, Joe says. You know that. You've been running from the swab for years. That's the little plastic Q-tip that decides who's a person and who's a suspect, right? Elena says. You really think if I give you that you'll be satisfied? You'll close the file and sleep? You'll say, we solved it? You won't. You'll put my face on the board with a line that says, not involved, and you'll still wake up at 3 wondering what I didn't tell you. Maybe, Joe says. But I'd know one thing for sure. I'd know whether your skin is the skin under her nails. I'd know whether you were holding her hand as she died or tearing at her throat. Elena flinches like the words cut. You really don't pull your punches, she mutters. I don't have time, Joe says. She didn't either. They stand there, Two women in an alley framed by a dead payphone, and a city that has taught them both different versions of fear. For a long moment, nothing moves. Then Elena reaches into her pocket. Joe's hand goes to her holster automatically, but Elena only pulls out a cigarette and a cheap blue lighter. She cups the flame against the rain, inhales, exhales a thin stream of smoke. "You want your swab?" she says.
Fine.
"You can have your swab. Not because I trust you. Because I'm tired of being the ghost in someone else's bedtime story." She flicks ash onto the wet concrete. "But understand this, detective," she adds. "You can collect all the DNA you want. You can feed it into all your machines. It won't tell you why he chose her. It won't tell you how it feels to stand under a broken streetlight and know it's not an accident. It won't tell you why some of us live and some of us die when we make the same decisions." Her eyes cut back to the photo of Laura one last time. "And it won't tell you the answer to the only question that matters to me," she whispers. "The one I still ask every time I hear sirens in the distance." Joe hears herself ask it before she can stop. "What question is that?" Elena takes one last drag, drops the cigarette, grinds it out under her heel. "Why," she says, "am I still here?" They take the swab in a windowless room that smells like old paint and older arguments, the kind of room where confessions are teased out and denials harden into habit. No table between them now, just a chair, a clipboard, a small plastic tube on a metal tray. Elena sits with her shoulders squared, chin lifted, as if this is a performance she's agreed to tolerate, not a favor she's granting. "This is voluntary," Joe says, because policy requires the words even when both of them know their theater. "Nothing about this feels voluntary," Elena answers. "But go ahead. Let the cotton decide what the night meant." The nurse in plain clothes steps forward, gloved hands steady. "Open, please." The swab brushes the inside of Elena's cheek. 2 seconds of contact, 35 years of wait. The sample slides into the tube into a labeled bag, the bag into a chain of custody that won't care how anyone felt about it. Elena watches it leave like she's watching a piece of herself walk into an MRI machine. "You going to call when it comes back?" she asks. "Or do I get to find out with everyone else on the 6 o'clock segment about shocking new developments in a decades-old mystery?" "I'll call you," Joe says. "You promise a lot of things," Elena replies. Then, softer, "Don't let them turn me into the wrong kind of headline." She leaves with her hands in her pockets, melting into the sidewalk crowd, another hood in the rain. For a moment, Joe fights the urge to follow, to keep eyes on her in a way that has nothing to do with suspicion and everything to do with the feeling that if she looks away too long, Elena might evaporate. The lab moves faster than emotions do. Rios calls her in, voice clipped, efficient. The printout lies under the light like a verdict. "It's her," he says. Matched to the trace under Laura's nails. Not even borderline. Direct hit. "So she was there," Joe says. "You already knew that," he replies. "This just means your case file has to admit it." He flips pages, taps at markers, talks about alleles and probabilities, but she's not listening to numbers. She's listening to the story the data refuses to tell, not whether they shared blood. Confirmation of that comes stamped in double helix, but whether those desperate scratches were the last grasp of a dying woman clinging to the only family she'd ever discovered, or the reflex of someone fighting the person who hurt them. "Any other DNA on the ligature?" she asks. "Nothing usable," he says. "Decades of storage, bad science from back then, cross-contamination. The usual tragedy. But there is something else." He swivels a monitor toward her. "We rearranged the partial mail sample from the letter adhesive with the newer array. No identifying hits. But there is a familial tie to your friend Hoyt. Distant. Could be a cousin. Could be a brother who never got arrested. The DNA doesn't give you a name, but it does give you a direction." "His family tree," she says. "Yeah," Rios answers. "And one more thing. The unknown caller? Background noise matches fairy horns, like we thought. But there's another layer. A faint echo pattern. Sounds like they were in a tiled space. Narrow. Hard surfaces. Could be a stairwell. Could be a public restroom. Could be an empty indoor pool. You want me to pick one? I can't. But it's not some guy calling from a couch. The case is starting to feel like one of those images that shifts when you step back. A woman or a vase, a duck or a rabbit, depending on where you let your eyes rest.
Sister.
Contractor. Letter writer. Caller. DNA.
Noise.
She does what cops have always done when things get abstract. She goes back to someone who remembers bodies, not charts. Lorraine answers the door with a face already carved into a question. You again, she says. My brother's been dead a long time, detective. You can't arrest a headstone. I'm not here for him, Joe says. Not directly. I'm here about everyone orbiting him. The living room looks the same, TV murmuring, couch sagging, time slow. Lorraine gestures for her to sit but remains standing, arms crossed. Did Dan have cousins?
Joe adds.
Male relatives he was close to? Lorraine snorts. He wasn't close to anybody, she says. He had a couple uncles he'd drink with at weddings, that's it. Why? There's DNA from a letter tied to this case that suggests a relative of his sealed the envelope, Joe says. Maybe someone using his name as cover. Maybe someone who admired him. Maybe someone who hated him. Plenty of those, Lorraine says. Admiration. Not so much. Anyone else in the family who worked nights?
Job vets?
Near the water. In the parks. Someone who liked to talk about access. She watches Lorraine's eyes for the flicker, the tell. It comes at the word access, a tiny narrowing, a memory skimming the surface. My cousin Robbie helped him sometimes, she says reluctantly. Ran cable. Dan got him odd jobs when he couldn't hold anything steady. Last I heard, he moved down near the docks. That was before the accident. Did he ever talk about the case?
Joe adds.
About letters, about the park, about anything that smelled like guilt or pride? Lorraine shakes her head. Nobody in this family talked about anything, she says. We swallowed it and hoped it didn't rot us from the inside out. She gives an address she thinks might still be good. The building turns out to be gone, replaced by a parking lot that smells like wet asphalt and French fries. The name, Robert Hoyt, leads instead to a chain of small-time evictions, a DUI, a stint in a rehab facility by the waterfront. Another tree of might-have-knows cut down by the years. She files it away. Another almost. The podcast does what the podcast does. It takes the stray facts and feeds them into its performance machine. Within a week of the swab, an episode drops with a title that makes her teeth grind. Secret Sister? The shocking new player in the Seattle Park Phantom mystery. They don't say Elena's name, but they don't have to. The breadcrumbs are there. Adoption.
Blood.
Nails. An unnamed woman who may have been present at the scene. Comments erupt. Half of them aim claws at Elena, accusations, fantasies, demands for arrest. The other half spin elaborate dramas about sisters and sacrifices, about jealousies turned lethal. In all of them, nuance dies first. Cho listens alone in her car in a dark garage. Engine off, rain ticking on the roof. The host's voice is too smooth, too excited. He calls the anonymous tipster from I Walked Away a self-admitted survivor. He wonders out loud whether police are ignoring the simplest explanation. She kills the audio halfway through. The script in that world is too clean. Real life never is. She calls Elena. It goes to voicemail twice, then picks up on the third ring with a terse. What? They're circling you, Cho says. Let them, Elena replies. Vultures can't pick clean what's already bone. I didn't leak it, Cho says. I know, Elena answers. You're not the only narrator anymore, remember? Stay put, Cho says. Don't talk to them. Don't answer emails. Don't feed the show. You're asking a lot from someone whose entire personality is screaming into the void, Elena says. Then, after a beat, but fine. I won't pick up unknown numbers that aren't you. Happy. Hanging up feels like cutting a line that's keeping something heavy from falling. Cho dives into 20 and 30-year-old assault reports the way some people dive into drink. She looks for patterns. Women followed near trails, cars seen twice, a man with keys offering help in the dark. She finds a report from late '89, a college student jogging near the park, a truck pulling up, a man leaning out to ask if she needed a ride. When she said no, he smiled, said, "You'll change your mind," and drove slow beside her until another car appeared behind them and he sped off. The description is muddy, late 30s, dark hair, glasses. Scar? Maybe. Fear can add scars where none exist. The student moved away shortly after and never followed up with police. Another almost. Another report from '91. A woman walking home by the waterfront, approached by a man in a maintenance jacket. He warned her that a transformer had blown near her street, that it wasn't safe, that she should let him escort her through a safer route. She declined. He stepped closer. The smell of alcohol. The bunch of keys in his fist, metal clinking softly. She ran. She saw his face every time. She closed her eyes for years afterward, but forgot it enough to live. Some of those women, curiosity or guilt or boredom rekindled by the podcast, start calling the hotline. Their stories pour through the line, fusing with the old case until the board in the cold case room looks less like a murder investigation and more like a cartography of fear. Through it all, the unknown caller is quiet. Days. Then a week. Then 2. The absence becomes its own presence. Every time the phone on her desk rings with a block number and turns out to be a robocall selling insurance, tension flicks through her like static shock. The second time she goes to Discovery Park after meeting Elena, she doesn't go as detective, she goes as body. She walks the trail in plain clothes, late, no badge showing, no weapon visible. She wants to know how it feels, the texture of that much darkness, the sound of her own steps on the path. The air is colder under the trees. Sound changes. The city hum drops away, replaced by the small, precise noises of night, drips, snaps, distant water. When she kills her flashlight for a minute, the dark presses in close enough to touch. Her heartbeat sounds too loud. She imagines a man who knows this trail like his own veins, who understands which roots jut out and which corners catch light. She imagines a woman walking ahead of him, thinking she's alone, stopping at the overlook to stare at the glitter of Seattle below. She imagines her turning at the sound of movement and seeing a familiar face, not a stranger's. That's the cruelty in this case. There is no stranger danger. There is only proximity weaponized. She doesn't hear the footsteps behind her until they're close enough to matter. Training takes over. She pivots, weight low, hand halfway to where her gun would be if she decided to bring it. A flashlight hits her in the eyes. A uniformed officer lowers it quickly. "Detective," he says, startled. "Didn't expect to see you up here off the clock." She breathes out slowly. "Making sure the park still feels like a park," she says. "Not just a crime scene. People come up here all the time," he says. "Even with the stories. Especially with the stories. They like the thrill." "That's the problem," she mutters. He nods toward the overlook. "We had a guy up here last week doing a YouTube live stream. Next to the marker, talking about the energy of the place. His voice drips contempt. We had to ask him to pack it up. Some people forget there's a body under their content." The city below flickers. One building, near the waterfront, catches her eye. A glass high-rise, top floors glowing warm, the rest dark. She thinks of Elena bent over a chipped laptop in a corporate lounge, stealing bandwidth to send messages into voids. She thinks of the anonymous voice on the phone, turning everyone into characters. "Anyone bothering the maintenance sheds lately?" she asks. "Trespassers. Graffiti. People trying to pry locks." "Not that I know of," he says. "Why?" "Because the keys started all of this," she says. "And people who love stories love souvenirs." At the station, the evidence boxes from the original case are no longer dusty. They sit open, edges frayed, like mouths ready finally to speak. She goes through every note with fresh eyes, every detail that once looked like clutter. In one early report, a junior officer mentions a potential miscommunication with dispatch around the time of the dropped 911 call. The phrase is vague, apologetic. He was reprimanded once for sounding the alarm on a false start. The memo about it is tucked away, far from the file. She finds it in a stack of disciplinary forms requested in bulk. She tracks him down. He's retired, living in a quiet suburb where the loudest noise is a dog barking at mail. He greets her at the door with suspicion, then curiosity, then a weary kind of recognition when she says the year. "I was just a kid," he says. "Straight out of academy. They put me on nights near the park because nobody wanted it. I thought I was going to save the city. Instead, I spent most of my time telling teenagers to go home." "Do you remember a dropped 911 that night?" she asks. "From a payphone by a bus stop." He looks away for a long time before answering. "I heard the beep on the radio," he says. "Dispatch said they had a hang-up. Payphone. They asked if any unit was close to check it out. I said I was. I drove by. There was no one there. Just a receiver swinging. I told them it was clear." His voice tightens. 20 minutes later, the main call came in about a body in the park. "You wrote, potential miscommunication," she says. "I wrote, I screwed up," he says. They rewrote it. Said it happens all the time. People bump the buttons. Kids fool around. They told me not to second-guess every silence or I'd burn out in a month. But I've been second-guessing that one ever since." "Did you see anyone walking away?" she asks.
"Shadows," he says. Then,
a bus pulling out. A woman at the corner with her hood up. "Could have been your sister. Could have been nobody. I didn't write it down because it didn't look like anything yet." He meets her eyes with the haunted calm of someone who has rehearsed this scene alone too many times. "Tell me something, detective," he says. "If I'd gotten there 2 minutes earlier, does any of this change? Or does he just do it somewhere the lights are worse?" She doesn't answer. There's no comfort in hypotheticals. When she leaves, the sky is starting to clear. A thin, pale line of morning is nudging the horizon. The city looks different in that kind of light, tired, raw, honest. Her phone buzzes. No caller ID. Her muscles tense, then she answers. This time, the voice on the other end isn't distorted. It's the podcast host, smooth even when he's flustered. "Lt.Joe," he says. "I thought you'd like to know, we received something. A package. No return address. Just a flash drive and a note." Her hand tightens on the steering wheel. "What's on it?"
"A video," he says. "Old.
Looks like VHS transfer."
Trail.
Trees. City lights in the distance. Same place you've seen 100 times. Only this time, it's not just the park. There's a man on screen. And a woman. And someone behind the camera breathing like they're about to say something they'll never be able to take back.